as Walcott makes a run ahead of him. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Of course. Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast. You didn't expect that intro, did you? That's for all you headphone listeners out there. My name is Kris. I am your host, and I'm just going to say it right off the bat because anybody who's watching this live, I'm sweaty. All right? I know that's going to arouse a lot of people, and I'm sorry, okay? I can't help being this good looking. All right? It just happens. So now we've got that monkey off the back. Let's talk about the monkey in the screen. He has to be here, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. It's Danny. Daniel, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very hairy.
You are, yeah. So I went with sweaty and good looking. You just gone, I'm hairy. There was no pivot there, was there?
Too much hair on my face and on my head, and the rest of me is
stop. We've all seen the picture. We don't need to know.
Apart from that, I'm good. I haven't podcasted in so long. I didn't do 37 podcasts already this month.
What has it been, like 10 minutes since you last did a pod? Something like that?
I'm sick of it. People have been messaging me going, "Oh, I'm available if you want to do another one." I go, "I'm bored now. I've had enough." So I might just take some of our friends' predictions and just add them in manually rather than doing it.
We do need to lift the stone quickly and ask you: did Josh predict that Brighton would win the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and everything in the end, or not?
He is a hipster extraordinaire, and I mean, if you want to know, I can tell you what he picked.
I think I want to know.
He did. I think he picked Napoli for the Champions League.
Oh dear.
Here we go. Josh's predictions: Man City, Arsenal second, Martinelli's top scorer, Spurs 11th. But if Harry Kane stays, it's 11th. But if he goes, they're 7th.
Right.
FA Cup, Man City, League Cup, Liverpool, Champions League, Napoli, and the Championship is Ipswich.
Ipswich. So he didn't pick Brighton for anything.
No.
Fraud. Okay, well, now we've got that out the way, let's introduce the quality of the podcast. It is a pleasure to welcome back Mr. Femster. Femi, how you doing?
Hey, all good. How's everyone doing? Nice day today for once. So can't complain.
Yeah. Humid though, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what it's like in London, but down here in Devon, it's really sweaty. Like it's just gross.
Nice. It's just good to have decent weather, not raining all day.
Have you had sun today? We haven't had sun. We've just had
2 days of sun, amazingly. 2 days in a row.
And yeah, dial that back a month and we were all like, oh, it's so sunny, it's beautiful. And then July and August happened. And here we are, clinging to the very dregs of summer.
I don't know why Femi's moaning. He's never in the bloody country. How would you know what the weather's like here? Was he in Las Vegas or somewhere lovely?
That's a one-off.
Fem was bodyguarding for Brittany. Like, leave Brittany alone. You know, like, he had things to do. You know. Anyway, let's jump in. Very quick. We don't do this all the time, but it's nice to occasionally, isn't it? Alonso, Boyten Dio, Davidson, Clock Orange, Mike Pierce, Jim Eves. Good evening. I see you, and I'm sure there's many others, but I see you, and thank you for being here, you beautiful bastards. Right, let's jump in. So, tonight's show, going to be about an hour and a bit. We're not going to do a particularly long one this evening, which is what she said, but we are going to discuss the Community Shield and a little bit about we're not really going to do a season preview because I like literally just put the word podcast into Google and everyone and their uncle is doing those. So we're just going to have a bit of a roundtable discussion and just, a little bit of chat about it. So let's dial back to the Community Shield first of all. Fem, what did you make of it overall? And more importantly than all of it, how hard did you celebrate and how many charges have you got against you for doing so?
Yeah, I actually spent my evening. I was like, I wanted to know how other teams celebrated when they won. So I was digging out old videos of Liverpool winning, Man City winning, and funny enough, they did exactly what we did, which is
I did that as well.
which is quite weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? And they didn't get. I never heard think pieces about how hard they celebrated, or it's only the Community Shield. But yeah, no. Overall, I thought it was it was it was good and normal. Let me put it like that. It was good because I think we competed with Man City a lot longer and a lot more than we usually have. It was normal in the sense of when you rewatch the game, you actually realize that we didn't actually. I know a lot of people think we created a lot, but we didn't actually create a lot of chances against them, which is the norm. Which is we look like we create a lot of chances. We look like we're putting them under pressure, but when you rewatch games, you realize we don't actually have a lot of shots against their keeper. So, but it was good that we found a different way of playing them. Let's put it like that. A couple of that January 1st, I think it was a New Year's Day game when that was the first sign that I thought, Arteta was getting it right. That was a game where we matched them for most of the game until Gabriel was sent off, and that was the first game I think I remember us anyway playing like that 4-3-3 type formation, and it was brave. We just went and we pressed them, which I didn't really expect. And I think this game we did something a little bit different again, which shows that Arteta's learning, which is we kind of blocked the middle channels a lot. So you saw Odegaard and who was playing and Declan Rice. They were they really squeezed right up to in the middle. They didn't pull out wide at all, and they squeezed and pushed right up, which is, I mean, it's risky against them, but if you back yourself, I guess you back yourself really. So it was good for us to try something new, and I think it's good to see that what Arteta was talking about, having a different way of playing, having Partey and Rice in there, a bit more height, a bit more physicality, with all the other players around the pitch as well, that we look a lot bigger. They didn't look bigger than us like they usually do, which is a compliment as well. So overall, I think it's a good run out, a good test, and it's good not to lose because we don't want to keep losing against them consistently. There's other things in the game which I'm sure we'll come on to, but that might be to do with the season as well. A few frustrating things with rules and referees and things like that. But overall, it's a good, and that the fans seem to have a absolutely brilliant time. So can't complain about that.
Yeah, sun came out, etc. Danny, do you reckon the putting jokes aside, and we all know that the likes of Chris Sutton and Gary Neville, etc. We all know that Arsenal live rent free in their heads, and that's fine. They can keep moaning, they can keep crying. It doesn't bother me one bit. It makes for good call-in shows, doesn't it? Bless them. But that aside, did you feel that Arteta and the 347 staff, I believe that he has now, was celebrating the way they were? Was it a mixture of things? Was it a combination of the fact that it was the last kick of the game to equalise, then to win it on penalties, and the bigger picture is no matter how you do it, it's the fact that we have finally beaten City, isn't it? It's like that. It's that little bit of a lifting of the Indian sign. Yes, it doesn't matter for the two upcoming league games, but it proves to both the manager, who will have been peddling this to his players, and the players themselves, that we can match them and that we can come out with a result. Even if we don't necessarily outplay them, we match them for long spells and we got the key win. So is that why the celebrations were quite as good as they were?
Yeah, we matched them, like you said. And we saw only a few months ago, Man City smashed us home, away and in the FA Cup. We were second-class citizens. One of the games we looked pretty good, but in the end they ended up beating us. And with just a couple of purchases, a player back fit and playing and starting, and a rejuvenated team that are high on confidence after already doing the triple this season, that they are back. And then we have managed to close that gap a little bit. I mean, they didn't have their number one goalkeeper, Haaland had an XG of 0.0, which is probably his worst ever in a light blue shirt of 115 charges FC. And De Bruyne doesn't look like he was fully fit, but you could have all these excuses, which they may well have done if they were moaning about it, but I don't think they really cared. But the most important thing is that's leg one of a 7-trophy haul that they now won't get. So it's another season they'll have to go where they have to start again with the Charity Shield and try and do it. But we just outperforming them. I think it was someone in our WhatsApp group made a great point. They said Eddie is the only person who would have scored those 2 chances Havertz had, and Eddie wasn't on the pitch. And Eddie was probably thinking, "Oh, that's all I can do is score from 6 inches." And Havertz was unlucky. I mean, great goalkeeping from Ortega. But we matched them. And that midfield of having, I mean, I said I want Partey to go. I've rescinded that. I don't want Partey to go. We need Partey to go because our best team is Partey in the Partey and Rice in the Saka and Odegaard in the Odegaard. And those central midfield 3 there, they are probably going to be one of the best midfield 3 in a centre midfield that you're going to have in the Premier League. Maybe even one of the best teams in Europe because they're all magnificent players and all at the top of their game. And we saw from Partey last season just how magnificent he is when he wants to be, when he hasn't got things that are bothering him. But it's just really good that we have now won 5 out of the last 10 Charity Shields. We've won 17 in total. And the last time Spurs won the Charity Shield, they shared it with us in 1991.
But they are Tiger Cup champions, so that come on.
Cup. I mean, that's
like,
not to be not to be laughed at.
And they definitely didn't celebrate that, did they? Let's be clear. No, wait, they did, didn't they?
Oh,
yeah,
they did.
They really did.
Oh, that's terrible. But it's just a fantastic way to start the season. And if we would have lost, we would have all said it was an unimportant trophy. But we won and we played well. And then everyone showed their nerve when it came to the penalty shootout, which is 3 magnificent things that will get us on the right foot for the start of the season.
Can I have the controversial opinion banner a second? Just very quickly.
Carry on. Yeah.
Because controversial opinion, there it is. I actually, and I don't know whether Fem felt the same way, as the game was petering out to the inevitable 1-0 City win, I actually thought it did matter. So I was one of the few people that actually did think this does matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily the result, the shield, etc., but this, like that, for me, did matter. Exactly, because I just thought. I mean, let me get your take on the same question, Fam. Did you see it as almost a game of mental chess? I mean, not only is Arteta arguably in even better shape, but Pep looks like a guy who's in Marbella and he's had one too many kebabs. I mean, I know I'm not in tip-top shape, but he does look like a chunky monkey, doesn't he? Bless him. And his face. I mean, his face at the end did not paint the picture.
Maybe it's the weather caught him out. Maybe he had one of his famous cardigans and he was going to wear that on top. Yeah, and then he realized it was a bit too warm for that. But you know what? After they scored, let's be honest, we didn't really do much after that, and they did have quite a few chances. I mean, they had the one that Ramsdale, the 2 that Ramsdale saved actually.
2 good saves,
yeah, 2 really good saves, and a few other half chances after that. And we didn't look like we were going to score. Let's be honest. And I think the way that Pep celebrated, you could see that. At the end of the game, you would probably think, it didn't really matter to him. But look at the way they celebrated when they scored. Look at their bench when they were taking penalty kicks. I don't know if you've seen the video. It did matter to them, it did matter. So let's not pretend like it didn't. And I think it mattered to us as well. Like you're saying, that narrative starts to build that, 8 defeats in a row. You can never beat them. You can never lay a glove on them. Those types of things just start to go into every game that you play. Even getting draws against them, You look at the league realistically. If that game at the Emirates, if we had done something in that game against them, it would have taken a sting out of their momentum at that point. Just even a draw, even if we had beaten them at that point, that would have been very, 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 very helpful. So and I know people say, well, I've heard it said, and I heard it said that, I'll go and win all the other games and you won't. But I think if you're looking at 100-point, 90 to 100-point league season, those games between you and your direct rivals, they actually matter quite a lot. You wouldn't believe it. If you're hitting 90 points, that means you're beating quite a lot of teams in the league.
It's a
That
12
means
point,
though,
12 point swing, isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it does matter. So it did come to a point where we did need to do something to arrest. And just to give that, I'm sure Arteta, like you said, is always drilling it in the players' mind. We can beat them. You're as good as them. You're as good as them. But until you get a result against them, all of that talk doesn't matter, to be honest with you.
And it's winning mentality, isn't it? Like, if you create that, dynasty is the wrong word, but if you create that sense of harmony in the squad where you've got, if you're a manager at whatever level you coach at, if you don't believe, if your players don't genuinely believe in what you're coaching, then you might have a good enough squad to get through some games, but against the very elite top tier teams, you have to believe what you're doing, don't you, to get those results. And that's part of his thought process. Sticking with you for a minute, Danny mentioned the Haaland factor. I don't know if this went viral. I don't know whether people caught it. I wasn't really on Twitter that much that night, apart from posting a few bits. But did you see when he got subbed and he did that as he went off? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. I wasn't paying attention.
So I think his hand was down quite low, but he was obviously getting booed by the Arsenal fans, and he sort of smirked and just held,
he did the three.
Three treble, yeah. Well, I just like to do that, mate. So, but he's a very talented striker. Let's not get anywhere about it. But it wasn't him I wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on the Rolls Royce that Zinchenko describes William Saliba as. I don't know if you've seen that interview with Agent Ferdinand, as I shall now call him, the silly pillock. But anyway, it's a good interview. And Zinchenko highlighted just how much he's blown him away. And he openly says in that interview he didn't really know who Saliba was. He didn't, he knew the name, but he didn't know what he was like. And he said he came in pre-season last year, played the Chelsea game and just blew everyone away. Would it be fair to say that how good he is both a blessing and a curse for the upcoming season? Because I don't want to imagine our team without him in it, if you know what I mean. Like, any game he doesn't play, it's not just the ability he has, but it's how much better and how much more stable it makes Gabriel around him. That partnership is so good. But there is no debate, is there? He is one of the, if not the best young central defensive talent in Europe right now, because everything he does, it's like he's in the armchair. Just so good, right?
Who's that, Danny?
That's to you.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think that there was an action in the game that summed him up when who was dancing through our whole team? Was it Bernardo? I can't even remember who it was.
There's one on him and one on Kovacic as well. I think there was.
Kovacic was running, dancing through our team, people chasing him around, and Saliba just stepped in front of him and just shepherded the ball out. And I thought, this is a player. Yeah. And another thing that summed him up was we basically ended the game with him in defence and everyone else bombing forward.
I noticed that as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Because I think I thought the plan was to have Tierney and Ben White next to him, but they kind of stayed at fullback, bombing forward, and he just held the fort by himself.
Yeah.
The fact that Gabriel basically played 90 minutes nearly every game last season, but this time round we needed to win, and Saliba was trusted with that. It's a testament, he's signed the contract now, so he's more settled. Everything is settled. There's no more, Arteta doesn't like him. All of that stuff is out the window. Now it's just concentrate on your football. I want to see him in the Champions League. What a player. I mean, what a player. And he's got this passion that I like as well. And I think I first spotted that when I don't really watch the French football like you do, but
get him off, Danny. Get him off.
But at Saint Etienne, they used to do these celebrations. I think I watched one of them where they played. Who's their biggest rival? They had
Lyon.
Yeah, and I think they beat them, and they were celebrating in front of the fans. And he must have been 18 then.
Yeah.
And he was leading the celebrations. He was holding the microphone. And you just saw a leader there, even at that young age. Even he just everything about him just exude just leadership and passion. He's so good, but when he's got to do his own job, that passion, that leadership, it's like he sees things in slow motion at that point when he's got to do his job. I think he's so good. I don't even want to compare him to anyone. I'm just glad that we
got
contract.
him.
Yeah, he's there,
and he feeds off the fans, doesn't he? Like the song is one thing, but he feeds off that relationship with the fans, because you can just tell that whenever you've been to games, but when he makes those big tackles, those big blocks, and the fans. There's a cheer, but it's almost like oh God, he's good, and you can tell he loves that. Like he feeds off that.
I mean, he's gonna make mistakes, but that's a defender's life.
Yeah,
he's
doesn't bother him, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't. No. He just shakes it off and gets on with it, I love that as well.
50 goals from Haaland last season, not a sniff on Sunday. It's a very good interview that I don't think it's been published yet, so I probably shouldn't say too much, because with everything that's going on around him, it might never get published. But I got sent a snippet of an interview with Kylian Mbappe that was scheduled to be released in France over the summer. And I said, I don't think it's gone out yet because of all the stuff that's going on around him. But the journalist in question that messaged me about it, he played me the audio, and it's basically him asking Kylian, like, who is the hardest defender you faced this season, as in last season? Last season, season before last. And without even hesitation, Saliba, straight away. Now, obviously, there's an element of French teammate, etc. But when you consider the teams that he's played against in the Champions League, especially Liga, you wouldn't say is high quality, but the teams he's played throughout his career, not just with Monaco, but with PSG, that's quite a compliment to pay somebody. So, especially when Varane's is one of his teammates. So I thought that was eye-opening. Danny, changing the positions, as it were, in terms of where we're talking about players, Kai Havertz is one who's... I think there's still a fair amount of, not division in the fan base, but there's questions. Some have still got the Chelsea kind of stain that they're worried about, even though Jorginho's sort of solved some of that. But I thought he was pretty good on Sunday. I don't think he was, elite tier. I don't think he did anything sort of remarkable, but playing out of position, in a position where he's openly said it's not really his best position, I thought his movement off the ball was really good. And okay, he did whiff those two chances. One, I think, was a very good save, to be fair, to Ortega, and some good defending from Stones for the other one. But to me, he just showed that there was something different with him up front. There was something different in the way the ball stuck and the way that he was able to exploit some of the pockets and the work rate. Is it a case that you think he will be that kind of break emergency glass, put him up front, but he'll be in midfield for the most of the season? Do you think is it nice having that versatility in a player who can do both roles?
Well, I remember vaguely when he was playing for Germany against England last year. I think it was last year or the beginning of this year. I think he scored a couple of games and he was playing mainly up front then.
Yeah.
But then when he was playing, I said before that when he was playing at his last club in Germany, when Chelsea went on one of their previous spending sprees where they got him and they got the bloke from PSV, they had about 3 or 4 players. They're all really young, top talents from those leagues. I thought, well, they are going to have such a great young team, much like the great young team that we've got. But they just misused him the whole time. Last season, he had 3 managers. All 3 of them played him in different positions. I think it was 3 or 4 managers. One of them only managed for 1 game.
He had 3 managers and Frank Lampard.
Well, there you go.
Like it was technically 3 managers, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But it depends on where you're going to play him. Now, we've not had, like you're saying, he brings something different to the team. He does. He brings a little bit of height. Because we don't have anybody that tall. He's 6'4", I think he is, and so that, and plus his ability to. And if you look on his stats, his profile on Transfer Market, it's his main position is attacking midfield, but he can also play right wing. He can also play as a forward. I reckon he could also play in maybe in a 2 in central midfield, the left and the right 8. There's so many positions he can play in. He's only 24 years old and he's left-footed. And so he is going to be a player, much like we've seen from Smith Rowe, where it's a player that if someone drops out, they're going to start. if we need to change the game up, then he's going to come on. But we've got best part of 60 games coming up next season. And other than Saka, no one else is playing 60 games next season. And so we'll get to see how Arteta is going to use him. But even if Arteta went and picked a player I've never heard of that played in a position that he invented, I'd still now go, well, Arteta knows what he's doing. So, yeah, I'm going to go with what he's saying and I'm going to believe him because that's what he does. He makes people work.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Do
you want the, was it Leverkusen he was at before?
Yeah, Leverkusen, yeah.
Do you want the Leverkusen Havertz or do you want the Germany Havertz or the Chelsea Havertz?
Oh, definitely not the Chelsea Havertz. But I was one of the people who I was chatting to Drew about it over the summer, and I mean I know Drew's been a fan of him for a while since his time in Germany, but I love him as a player. I think he's completely different to what we've got, and I'm not actually sure if the quote unquote left 8 that everyone has adopted this saying. I don't even know if that's actually a thing. But I don't know if that is actually his best position. I think he's probably his best position is the 10, is the Odegaard
like a Bergkamp role, not a striker, but not just a midfielder.
And that's where you can use his physicality to hold the ball up and release others. But if he is going to play as the left 8, then I'm also fine with that. But no, I was really excited about him coming in. I think we have. Well, when you say have we overpaid, we overpaid for Rice. However good he is, we have overpaid for him.
It's the same price as Jude Bellingham.
Yeah. So, but a player is only worth what a club's willing to sell and what a club's willing to pay. So that's nobody's fault. But I think if Havertz ends the season with, let's just say 8 assists and 10 goals or vice versa, nobody's going to be questioning whatever. What did he come for in the end? It's about 60 mil, is it 65, all told?
65,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but 10 years ago, that was 15 million. So it's all relative, it's inflation, etc. But I guess what I'm getting at is if he's a success, nobody will question that price tag. Obviously, if he goes full Pepe, people will question it. But I feel like he looks to me like a player who's just sort of done that. Like the weight's been lifted, that he's every player that has that taint of Chelsea almost like breathes a sigh of relief when they get out of there. And I feel like he's a player who Arteta clearly wanted him. It was under the radar. He clearly identified him as a player we could get. And Chelsea obviously had to sell. So I think we probably took advantage. I don't think Chelsea would have got rid of him if they didn't need to. I think they'd have got rid of like Ziyech, who's still hanging around there, stinking up the place. They'd have probably got rid of, from Ajax. Pulisic, another one. So I think they would have got rid of other players ahead of Havertz had they have had the choice. But obviously we went in with the money and got it done. So, but no, I like him, and I really hope it's a success.
I've got a question for Fem when you're finished.
Yeah, well, no, go for it. Yeah.
Would you think that Arteta is slightly going over the top with the amount of positions that he's got covered now with players because of how it ruined our championship season last year?
Well, I can't say that until I see that he's capable of rotating. Right now, it looks like it, but when we get into the season, he's got to show that he is capable of rotating. Because what ruined our season wasn't that, and what has ruined our season for the last 2 seasons, it's not that our first team necessarily played too much. It's the players that are in backup don't play enough. That sounds really stupid, but hear me out. When we seem to get these injuries, we seem to throw players in who haven't played a lot of games, and that's happened the last 2 seasons. So what happens is you throw in a Holding who's only started 1 league game for the whole season or something like that, or 0 league games. You're throwing in March, April. It's, as much as people say, oh, he's not good enough and things like that, we kind of know that players do need rhythm as well. And if you've kind of been playing a few Europa League games here and there, a few League Cups, it's kind of difficult. So now with Champions League, we have to manage our squad better. So until I see that we can manage our squad, it looks like a big squad. It looks like we've got everything covered. But, we're, like you said, we're a Gabriel Jesus injury, and we only had sort of 2 attackers on the bench, really, like out-and-out attackers, Trossard and Balogun. I want to say ESR, but he's obviously a midfielder now. That's his position. So you're kind of like one more forward player injury away from your forward line looking a little bit bare. So it's kind of like we're still juggling a little bit, I think. And I think if they had their way, they might get one more attacking player. I think they might do that, but I think we kind of pay the tax when you're talking about as Havertz. I think we do pay a tax for going in early in the transfer window.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
I agree.
the last 2 seasons, or 2 and a bit seasons, we've been going quite early with Ben White and I don't. To be fair, I don't really like to talk about Brentford and Brighton players because they seem to just charge whatever they want for their players. So I'll leave them out of it. But going for big players, if you go early, you do pay a tax for it. Declan Rice, if a player's got 1 year left on his contract and you wait nearer to the end of the window, you're probably going to pay less. But Arteta seems to demand. He does seem to demand from the club that, look, I want my big players in before pre-season so that I can work with them, and we seem to be paying a price for that. And Havertz is a weird one because when he was going to Chelsea, I was upset. I was like, oh my god, they're buying him. He's one of the best young players in Europe, and that was a time when they were buying a few of those types of players, and I was like, they're buying. I think they bought him the same year as Ziyech actually, and I was like, oh, they're buying him. Ziyech was brilliant at Ajax, but obviously, who knows what goes on at Chelsea, what kind of instructions, training. But one thing that Arteta is good at is identifying positions for players, knowing, okay, this guy is good here. He seems to, I don't know, that must be just a natural instinct as a manager, or great trait for him as a manager, because you're looking at Bukayo Saka. Who would have ever thought Bukayo Saka would be a right winger? Ever. Honestly, left winger, I could have seen definitely. Some people were resigned to him being a left back. He was playing left back when Arteta joined. Who would have ever seen Thomas Partey playing lone six? I wouldn't have seen that. Who would have seen Xhaka playing basically entering in the box as many times as he did? Arteta's good as that. Ben White, who would have identified him as a permanent right back? So he has an eye for positional, putting players in position.
And he's doing it with Timber as well, isn't he? I mean, he's come as a right back and centre back, and straight into left back he goes.
He looks like he's been playing with the sit side for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's really technically, brilliant, and I want to give him praise, but I'm conscious we have got, time is of the essence. But yeah, he was brilliant again, and I don't think any of us will suggest that he doesn't start Saturday. I think he does. I think he comes straight into the side. And as much as I like Zinchenko, and I do, both on and off the pitch, I think he's a terrific human being as well as a footballer. If he can't stay fit, we have to have another option. And having Timber as that is brilliant. And what it also allows us to do is when Zinchenko is fit, it gives you the option of not running Ben White into the floor every week, which we definitely did last year. And I think his form suffered at the end of the season because I don't think he was fully fit towards the back end of that season, because right back is no joke getting up and down the whole season. So, and
he gets in some decent crosses.
He does, and what I like about Ben White as well is he has this sort of image of being like the Hollyoaks sort of part-time model at right back, but he's got a bit of twat in him. Do you know what I mean? Like the stills in the. You think you highlighted it the other day, Danny. We were talking about it in the tunnel before the game, and some of the looks he gives, he looks at someone like De Bruyne and he just scoffs. He's got that kind of he's got that. You know what I mean? It's like like
one of the Four Musketeers, doesn't he?
Yeah, but you also that look is like, whatever. Oh, your dog's just shat on my grass, you little fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like.
And Ramsdale's got cartoon. He's got the Simpsons running through his head. Look.
No, Ramsdale's like, yeah, that was my dog. Fuck you. But it's a good blend. It's a good blend. But you also know that Ben White's the kind of guy who probably goes into the dressing room and they go, oh, Ben, you can drop the act now. And he's like, yeah, fucking Adam, don't I, lads? Like, you just know that he's that kind of guy. When people say, like, does he like football or that? I genuinely don't think he gives a fuck. I really don't. He just comes across as a guy who is good at his job. He knows he's good at his job, and I think he thrives in that sort of spotlight of people having a go at him from opposition fans. So
look at this.
Yeah.
I've just knocked up. That's not bad, is it?
No, it's
that's
not
our
bad
2 first teams for the boys and girls at home.
And I think somebody made a point in the chat. The ex-gunner made the point in the chat there. Kivior, I think, he's come on a long way since he first joined. I don't think we'll see him sort of charging up the pitch at Anfield again this season. Hopefully, he looked pretty good.
You haven't got Timber in any of those teams.
He's on the right-hand side, centre back.
Oh, you got him at centre back.
We could play him anywhere, couldn't we? Any one of those 4 back 4 positions, or maybe even the Jorginho role.
You're missing El Neni. You're going to forget about El Neni.
El Nene's managing the reserves. He's
now, didn't you,
along with the 350 coaches. There's the El Nenes. Who doesn't want that?
I've got my database, our Google spreadsheet. Now, if you can include the Charity Shield as a trophy, which it is, Big Bob Holding has got the same number of trophies as Edu, Gramandi, Kanu, Mertesacker. It's got Ramsey. He's got more than Koscielny, more than Ozil, more than Petit and Rocastle. He's got 5.
What a man.
He needs that league title, though.
I'm just disappointed he let go of the hair, though. I mean, that's disappointing. All that money, and then he chops it all off. What are you doing, Rob?
Has he chopped it off?
Yeah, he's got kind of shorter hair again now, which is a shame. But yeah, no, the squad itself looks good. I think there's a lot of positives there, and whatever anyone says. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't party in the streets after Sunday. I didn't. I obviously was happy. I was pleased. I quite enjoyed winding a few people up on socials because that's my new favourite hobby. I know. Who'd have thought? But it's low hanging fruit, and you've got to sweep for it. But in reality, when we step back from it, I think it does have a bearing on the season, and I think it just reminds our rivals that we're here to stick around. And my only concern for the season is, and I was talking to, shout out to my mate Steve, who I work with today, who I think is a listener actually. If not Steve, then you will be by the time this goes out. My only concern really is the what if. What if we don't get off to a great start? What if we do stumble? In the Forest game or the Palace game, or the result goes against us at Man United, or I think we got Everton away in the first few weeks, haven't we, as well, which we don't really do well up there.
That run, that Man United to Everton to Man City.
Yeah.
We've got a few of those. Chelsea. It's like a run of games. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the fans are going to be full AFTV, within a week. I'm not saying that. I just mean that if the atmosphere is so positive right now, that I just don't want the anxiety to come in too soon. I don't want us to set the expectations too high, which in the predictions video, that if you haven't watched it, go and watch it because I'm amazing. But no, jokes aside.
People like our little skit. Someone's, oh dear. Yeah. Go on, carry on.
Okay, thanks for that.
No, someone said, why no party? And I've mixed up my B team. I had 2 versions of the first team, so I'm just editing that to put Partey back in. I had Havertz in midfield, which is wrong. Go on, carry on.
You've got to take Matt Turner out as well, but we'll come on to him. But yeah, that's my only concern. I mean, do you share that, Fam? Like, is there an element of you'll get to some games this year, but is there that sort of? It's not second season syndrome, but it's just that fear. Like, do you know what I mean? It's that what if we got off to such a good start last year. That regardless of what other teams do, it's just about whether we do that again. You know what I mean?
This is it. We got 50 points in the first half of the season, which is
nuts,
record levels. So everything was feel good. The fans were happy. There was little that you could complain about, really. Losing one game and drawing 2 games. I think we were at one point.
Yeah.
That's an almost perfect start to the season. We were on 24 points in record time. So, and for that to be, there's a reason why some of these things are very rare. It's because it's very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
And you got to look at the league as well. There's not a top. We had top 4 before. We had top 2, then we had top 4, then we had top 6. They say top 7 with Newcastle. I think you're looking at top 9 probably with your Brighton and your Aston Villa as well.
Yeah,
so that means that the league is getting deeper and deeper of good teams. You haven't even mentioned your Brentfords that will give you a good game, your these teams will give you a run for your money on any day of the week.
And the
Burnley,
company might
Crystal
surprise
Palace away. We had a good time there last season, but under the floodlights on a Monday night, you know what you're going to expect. You know it's going to be a hard game. If you come away with it with a draw, there's really no reason to throw your toys out of the Prem.
No.
It's not going to be the same as like every season is not the same. Of course, we know what the aim is. You're looking at 85 points plus. However you get it, if you get, if you're getting 40 instead of 50 at the beginning of the season in that same run, then don't panic. Just do better in the second half of the season than we did in the last. Because if you're looking, you're getting 50 in the first 19. That means you only got 30 something in the last 19. If you can average it out a little bit better, and get 40 and 45, 40 and 46, you've pretty much had the same season, but it's just the panic that it causes. And throw into the mix Champions League as well.
Yeah, good point.
You're not going to have Europa League where you get to whip some boys in the group stages.
Yeah.
That means if you come off a Premier League defeat, you're not going to have an easy Europa League game to pick you up and give you that feel good factor. You could end up paying, I don't know who. You can end up with Barcelona in your group. So Bayern, you're playing Tottenham on Saturday. You're playing Barcelona or Bayern on a Tuesday or Wednesday. It's the way it goes now. So we have to be calm and just know that it's going to be a very long season, and just not throw the toys out of the pram. Of course, listen, I'm the first one. I always say you're allowed to moan per game.
Yeah,
for each game, you're allowed to look at the game and say, "I didn't like this," or that was rubbish. And then in a few days, we will get over it. I think people should be allowed to do that. I don't think you should be able to go overboard and say, "Oh, that was rubbish. We've been rubbish now for 4 games." It happens. Even on Arsene Wenger, it happened. Even in Invincibles, it happened. We went through a few games in a row and things like that.
There's no harm in questioning what's in front of you. It's just being respectful and not being an idiot on the meet and social media or in public, which is even worse. So what you're basically saying then is trust the process. That's what you're saying. So, and I think as Dio said in the chat, like, play football, we're good and we play football. And I always bring this up and I repeat this so many times on podcasts. I apologize if I am repeating myself, but I always stand by what Dom said. Maybe 4 years ago, Dom of this parish, and he's like, I just want to enjoy watching us. Like, he's like, all I want to see is us compete. If we compete, I can deal with the disappointments, but I hate seeing us just getting rolled over by the big teams, and and just constantly flattering to deceive. If you compete, you can have that. And the other argument as well that I see chucked around about Arsenal and how we're going to fall off and all this. There's we mentioned there a handful of teams you chuck like the likes of Villa, who are much improved, and Burnley potentially they're a bit of an unknown quantity. Even Bournemouth, like under their new manager, they might be one of those teams that surprise a few people. People saying, "Oh, Arsenal, they're going to get found out because other teams have improved." Well, what about those teams improving against Man City? It only takes a few of those teams to take a few points off Man City. People forget they lost to Palace last year. They lost to they drew with Forest, didn't they?
Brentford.
Away from Brentford, yeah. I mean, it only takes a team like a Villa or an improving Man United, or Chelsea, whatever. Yeah, they may well improve against us, but if they take points off City at crucial times when we're winning games, that's just as important for us. Yeah, let's not get silly, Danny. Let's not go overboard. What about in terms of coming into the season, just sort of to draw a line under the Arsenal perspective? So obviously, we play Forest on Saturday. It's the 12:30 game on TNT Sports. Yeah, say a new channel, new name, same shit pundits. Can't wait.
But Laura Woods on there, though, isn't she?
Laura. Yeah, but she's only presenting. Yeah, she's brilliant, but she's not
Champions League, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, and she. We're still going to have to listen to McManaman and Owen and Fletcher wanking himself dry over Man City's games, and oh god.
And
anyway,
Jeff Stelling's taken her job.
Has he really?
Yeah, he's doing her breakfast show on TalkSport.
I never knew that. Fair play to him. But I think I saw in the chat, I'm going to find it and give the gentleman credit because I thought it was a good point. Graham Denton, who I haven't seen Graham's name, so if you're new, Graham, hi. If you're not, then ignore me.
Oh, it's Chirobi.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Well, hi, Graham, by your real name. But yeah, he said, I've got no right to complain about the transfer period, but I was hoping to get a plan B target man up front. Danny, I've written a book on this, basically, because I've been banging this drum all summer. Is that the only area that we could? Because I'm hearing a lot of people say we're still in for a Saka backup. We still need a right-sided backup. Arguably what we would have gone in for Mudryk for. And whilst I don't disagree with that and another wide man, I just feel that Balogun's gone. Let's face it. We don't know where yet, but he's gone. He's clearly, this injury is fluff, isn't it? He's blatantly fit. He's fine. Like, he could have played. They obviously wanted to take him to America just in case the bids didn't come in, or make other clubs aware that he was in our plans. But he's going to go to Monaco, West Ham, Inter, one of those teams, right? If he goes, I don't want this to become a let's all bundle on Eddie show, because I think Eddie he's very serviceable at what he does. But what is very true of Eddie is he is one of those players, like Fem mentioned about Rob Holding. He needs a consistent run of games. He needs to start games. He's proven that he's not really a great sub to have. So that just brings me to that question to you of, like, would you just like to see us roll the dice on maybe a journeyman centre forward, or a young centre forward who can come in, who can be happy with 10, 15 games, and just, not a John Hartson, but someone who offers something a bit different, who is actually a striker, rather than putting somebody there who isn't necessarily a striker?
Not at all. We don't need it. Okay. Last season we broke our own Premier League. Huh?
I said, thanks, everyone. Good night.
Yeah, we broke our own Premier League. Oh, that's still up on the screen. We broke our own Premier League goal scoring record. The best ever was the season after the Invincibles with 87. We scored 88 league goals last season, and a handful of games we didn't even have our number one striker, our main man at the helm of the attack for 3 months of it. Goal scoring is not the problem. Our problem was having decent quality backups for other players when they're injured. And like you're saying, Ben White can't play 60 games a season with the amount of effort and pace and speed and that he puts into every game, running up and down that wing. It knackers you out. And to get a player like Saka who can play every single game, even he was struggling towards the end of the season. So we just want to get real top quality players that are ready now to step in. And Timber has shown that. Raya will show that. Immediate replacements of a similar level to what we've already got. And backups. So that thing that I did before with the two teams, with the I've gone and changed it because someone said, why didn't I have Partey? Well, I had 2 first teams. So here we go. Put them back up again. Any one of those players on the right-hand side can drop into the team on the left-hand side, apart from Turner because he's gone, and do a really good job. Kiwior was brilliant towards the end of last season. Tierney, if you let him play left back or left wing back, he does the job. He can't do the Zinchenko job, which we found. Tomiyasu can go and play anywhere across the back four. So can Timber. Jorginho is a wonderful replacement for Partey. Most teams, he'd be the first 11 in most Premier League teams outside of 3 or 4. Smith Rowe has looked. I mean, what did you think about Smith Rowe pre-season and Trossard? I mean, how we've got those two, that midfield 3 of Rowe, Trossard and Jorginho, that's a good enough. I mean, a few years ago, they'd have been brilliant as our first team, wouldn't they?
They would. The only thing I'd ask you, and I don't disagree with what you said. The stats.
Do I have to get the banner up?
No, it's not controversial. Right. Okay. The only thing I would question you on, and you would have the stats that I don't have, so you can shoot me down in flames here. But in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, a lot of the goals we got in, like, I guess what I'm trying to phrase really badly is that alternative option in the games that we threw away. Do you know what I mean? Like the West Ham game.
Could they have done a job when they were needed?
Yeah, it's not a question of do we need to shoot more? Do we need to score more goals? It's more a question of if we are 1-1 with Palace under the lights on a Monday night and we've tried Trossard, we've tried Havertz, we've tried Gabby Jesus is fit by then, whatever. And we're just like, with half an hour to go, and we're going, look, we just need somebody who can hold the ball, or we need something different. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying go out there and sign a Calvert-Lewin who's going to start away at Everton, and have it as a second option, because ultimately if we're the better team and we've got more of the ball, we don't need to It's like the noisiest road in the world. Sorry about that.
You've moved to the M25. Nice.
If I shut the window, I'm going to cook. So apologies. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm getting at. It's not that we need to go and buy more goals. I just feel more comfortable having a proper striker. Trossard I love him. I think I want to hug him. I think he's brilliant, but he's not a striker. Havertz, we've gone over. He's not a striker. I agree with what Bulgarian Gunnar said in the chat there. Eddie is disrespected to a great deal of the fans. There's nothing wrong with questioning his record, but I think some have just written him off. He can do a job, but he's so similar to Jesus in the positions he takes up, but he's not as good as Jesus. Do you know what I mean? And even Jesus, he's not actually a striker, is he? He's a hybrid centre forward. Do you know what I mean? I just want somebody who we can turn to when the shit's hit the fan and we've got half hour to go. We're away at West Ham and we need a goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's my only caveat.
But do you think? I know a lot of people see that thing about taking up to positions that Jesus is taking up and being not as good. I just don't think that's his game.
No, it's not. I agree.
Yeah,
he's an Henri forward, isn't he? He's a wide coming in.
Yeah,
forward.
I think we don't play to his strengths at all.
I agree.
You know, we just do not. I mean, he could go to another team. I'm not sure he'll get 20 goals, but I'm sure he could get 10, 15 goals a season in another Premier League teams. Palace, your Brentfords, your Brightons, there's teams that we don't play with a standard. That's why I don't know if we would go for a different centre forward. To us, it makes sense, but I just don't know if Arteta even thinks about
considers
it.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, because I don't know. He wants a facilitator there rather than a person that's probably why Balogun was never gonna fit into his style of football. Player. Yeah, because I was listening to a European show the other day, and even though he did really well, we saw all the goals that he scored in France. They said that there were still question marks about his out of the box play.
Yeah,
they were questioning it.
And that Rams team was set up for him to score the goals. The team was built around him, whereas he's just part of this team. There's a difference.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, looking at Balogun and Eddie, I think that the thing you got to look at is if you sold Eddie and kept Balogun, you're basically starting a whole new project with another player. So they'll literally with two players, one has a longer contract as well, which is Eddie. So you not worth it. It's just sell for the market value. It doesn't make sense. So it's a tough one because I think Eddie could score goals if the team was set up to like that, basically. So our striker is a facilitator, definitely.
I feel like with Jesus and Eddie, if it was 1995 and we were playing 4-4-2, they'd both get 20 a season. Do you know? If we played a tandem two up front, I think Jesus is your Bergkamp, isn't he, to your Henri? Like in that 4-4-2, if you got like the Shearer and Sutton style, it's that
Kevin Campbell to your Ian Wright.
Exactly, yeah. if the game was a few years back, I think that they'd be brilliant in a two, or even a Balogun and an Eddie, two up front, perfect, because you've got two different strikers running two different ways. But and again, as Avon's put in the chat, 88 goals with the main striker missing for 4 months. The stats speak for themselves. Hey, if we just sat on this podcast and just agreed with everything, then it'd be boring, wouldn't it? So I think it's worth chucking the argument out there. And again, I'm just being selfish. And chatting to my mate at work today, we were reminiscing over Anelka. Imagine him in this team, by the way.
I've just watched. There's a really good YouTube channel. It may be called, and I'll go and find it. I'll tell you what it is. But they did one on it. Every time it's a different story about a different player, and usually they're half hour long. Rabona TV is one of them. That's really good. I just found him, and one of them was talking about the whole Anelka thing, and I forgot some of the teams that he ended up going off and playing for. If he'd have spent his entire career at Arsenal, we'd be talking about him as a legend.
Oh,
but he was a knob.
Well, his brother was Anelka is to this day is still a bit of a knob, but his brother was a very bad influence on his moves. I think if Arsene had his way and his brothers had been out of the picture, he'd have got another 2 years out of Arsenal. But then he paid for our trading ground, didn't he? Famously, that move to Real Madrid. So, but the raw talent that guy had, I mean, wow! Like, let's not forget we sold Ian Wright because of Anelka. Like, just think about that. I mean, I know Wrighty was getting up there, but Bergkamp and Anelka for that season was unbelievable. Like, but then he did play for Bolton as well, so
How about the title of this podcast, Kris? I cheekily named it "The Best Arsenal Squad Since the Invincibles." What do you think about that?
I think that I like it because it's great for clickbait, but it's I think
talking from emergency podcast boy.
Yeah, break glass for emergencies. I think it's jury's out. I think it can be, but I think jury's out because ultimately, as we said on the prediction show we did the other day, if we don't win anything again this year, the questions will be asked because there's no excuses now. Like I'm not saying this is the season we have to win because we all know 115 Charges FC is still going to shit all over the league, but that doesn't mean we can't win it. But I think we have to be. Let's say we fell off this season and ended up finishing just in 4th and went out of the cups early. The questions would be asked because we spent a lot of money. This squad is another year older. It's proven last year. Last year was a shock to everyone. All eyes are on us now. We can't do what Liverpool did and just say, oh well, our midfield is old. It's not. Like, we have to go again now, and we don't know what we're going to get from Chelsea. We don't know what we're going to get from Man United. We don't know what we're going to get from Newcastle second season. Villa, I genuinely think if Unai, they're talking about bringing in Zaniolo tonight, another good player. If they hit the ground running, like, they could be a side that could crack that top 6. Spurs will be, like, do you know what I mean? But we don't know, do we? Liverpool might come back this season. I personally think they probably will. So we can't just sit there and say, best squad since the Invincibles on paper. Yeah, probably is. But none of these have won anything. The Invincibles won everything, basically. Obviously didn't win the Champions League, but you know what I mean.
One thing we can't do is we cannot just go out of the cups and say, we
focus on the league.
Go out of this. We can't do that anymore. That's such a poor mentality now. It worked for a little while, and I think the Europa League was my last straw with that. I just thought that was just like, it's just we got into that mentality on the Arsene Wenger in the latter days, and I think we as a club, Man City, they got a big squad, but they go for it on all front. They've almost won the quadruple. Quadruple for the last 2 seasons. Even Man United last season ended up in winning the one cup. They got to the FA Cup final. Cup. They got quite deep in the Europa League as well. So and they didn't have like an amazing squad. So we just cannot continue to just dump cups and be like, that's it. We lost 3-0 at Nottingham Forest, so let's just forget about the
squad
FA
for
Cup
it now, haven't we?
Yeah.
We can't.
And also look at who's suddenly getting active at the end of the window. Man City are suddenly looking at Paqueta from West Ham. They're suddenly looking at another forward. They're suddenly looking at fullback. They're shitting it. Like, that result last Sunday will have changed their thought process on
we went
actually
early.
Could we go and get a few more players? That Cole Palmer, Christ, the twat could smile a bit, but he's clearly very talented, and he's clearly going to be one that's going to get game time. But Phil Fodder was supposed to be the next coming of Jesus, and I don't think he's kicked on anywhere near the levels he should have yet. Grealish arguably did. They're only going to get better, but Kyle Walker is another year older. Kovacic is a steady signing, but is he going to get the goals that Gundogan got? Probably not.
They can't get rid of Cancelo.
Well, Cancelo will go to Barca, I think, at the end of the window. That's just.
Yeah, but they're not going to get good money for him, though, are they?
Oh no, they won't get the money, but
so
he'll move on.
They can't replace it yet.
And they've got.
We've put the willies up on. We've given them the willies.
Yeah, we have, and we've made Pep go to McDonald's at 4 a.m. every night, like he's shitting himself. But yeah, that's, and the fact that I think Brighton have tonight announced that they want the Caicedo deal done. They want it decided tonight, which is a bit dramatic. But Chelsea and Liverpool are fighting out over him. Clubs know they have to spend money now. They know they have to go big, and I know we all like to laugh at Chelsea, and as we absolutely should. And we like to laugh at Man United, as we absolutely should, and Liverpool. But cards on the table, we all know that at least 2 of those 3, if not all 3, are going to be better this year than they were last year. Klopp is a very good manager, although he can be a bit of a bell end. What's his name at United? Ten Hag is, I think, unproven, but he's clearly better than what they've had in the past, and that squad is good enough to kick on if they do get the right mix. And Chelsea, they've got a specialist in failure in charge. That's fine, but that squad again on paper, there's a lot of talent there, and Reece James. So,
they're adding more as well.
Yeah, exactly. They're not done. So,
do you think this season we'll see less? Because we saw last season Arteta had his absolute favourites, and come rain or shine, they were starting every single game.
Poor
Bukayo. He won't be doing that this season because he's got more of his own men to come in. And like someone said in here, that Arteta will be playing the same 11 2 games a week. I can't see who it was that said it.
But I don't think he can do that with Champions League. Europa League, Femi, you were there at some of the Europa games. How arsed did some of our players look in some of those games? I mean, some of those early round games, we could have rolled out me and Danny and we probably would have got a result.
And like you said, he had his favourites. So even in Europa League games, even though he did rotate, he did keep some of the... Exactly. Saka played a few early games. So he did, but that's a good point actually. Where they said you had his own favourites. Yeah, sorry, there's someone waving at me. They said he had
one of the servants.
He didn't. Would Sir like some tea and some caviar?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Where you had a lot of. He's now got his own team, his own players. So the bench is now filled with his players, basically. It's filled with his favourites. So if you've got a Tomiyasu on the bench, you've got I'm fascinated about Emile Smith-Rowe. What kind of role he can play this season?
He's looked good, hasn't he?
Yeah, Arteta likes Jorginho. Arteta likes El Neni. He does like him. So you've got more players that he'll be. Initially, anyway, let's see how the season go. But he might be more willing to rotate them in and out. He's got Zinchenko. Yeah, he has to. He does.
One injury to Saka. I
mean, literally, Man City. If you look at, I think someone was doing their minutes that some of their defenders play an average of like 22 games a season. In the league. We've got this idea that they don't. He wrote that it's called Pep Roulette for a reason. People that do fantasy football know that, especially at the beginning of the season, they pace themselves to go into February, March and get stronger. And we need to learn that a little bit. We can't be scared, to not see a player in the team. And, you see the team sheets and you see 100 tweets underneath. Oh, why is he not playing? Why are you pick? It's not going to happen. It's just, and we there's a lot of good players there. Danny, I was just looking at you. You just said that. Who said that? You said Alonso. No, that player, Cancelo, would end up at Barcelona. I was just looking at something that I read the other day that Barcelona haven't registered once again all their new signings and all the signings that sign new contracts. So players like Gundogan, apparently, if they're not registered by Friday.
I think they're going to now because Kessier's gone to Saudi, so I think they've now
frees
got
up money.
Yeah. But you're right; they still have to shift.
They can leave for free if they don't. If he doesn't sign them. They don't register them.
There's talk that they're going to potentially welcome bids for Ansu Fati now as well, isn't it? Because they're talking about bringing Neymar back, and it's just like, do they never learn? But we all know Barcelona and Real Madrid have very different rules that they abide by their own rules and can do what the fuck they want. But and the Man City point that you made there as well, I think with them, I genuinely think some teams they play are beaten in the tunnel, like before they even go out. How many teams went to the Etihad last season and actually took on City? Brentford had a go. I think Everton had a bit of a go towards the end of the season. Leeds had a go and got absolutely walloped. So most teams don't. They go with the Hodgson approach of, although to be fair, Palace have won there, but you know what I mean. Most teams go there with that low block.
Run of games at the end of the season we just knew they were win every game they
Was
went,
it
and it's
17
like
in a row, all comps.
It was once they beat us, it was done, wasn't it? Like,
we just knew every game, every team that came up against them. And to be honest, we can't really complain because when we went there, we basically just got absolutely stuffed as well.
I said it then, I'll say it now. West Ham and Liverpool was where we lost that league last year. Sure, we probably needed something from Man City, but if we win those 2 games, we can afford to park the bus at City and probably get a draw and get over the line. So
it's almost like winning the Premier League as a European tie, where it's down to 2 games, home, one away.
It is, it is.
But what does that say about how much we've managed to do in 2 or 3 seasons that Man City have taken a decade to build up to that?
Massive.
We've almost caught them in.
But it's no coincidence that the coach who's doing it is a disciple of Pep, is it? Like, there's no coincidence that, you could not have a better coach than Arteta in terms of knowing what Man City are going to be doing, not just in the games we play against them, but on the whole. I wouldn't mind betting that Arteta could name most of Pep's lineups most weeks because he knows how they operate. He knows their coaches. He knows their match days. He knows everything about them. And that must scare Pep. It has to. He's going that way, and Arteta is probably going that way. So
I tell you, one person it does seem to rattle is Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh yeah,
he just seems to have some sort of problem with us for some reason.
But he's ginger, fam. So I mean,
I don't. Have you noticed that he just seemed? I mean, the game at the Emirates, he was having a shoving match with Arteta when Arteta had the ball in his hand.
And the fans
saying some nice little snidey things, having a snipe at the fans. Maybe it's just because we're closer to them. Maybe he was like that with Liverpool as well. I don't know, but
he's a winner, isn't he? Like, he is one of those that I think he's given it to other fans, but he's definitely rattleable, and he wasn't fit, I don't think, at the weekend, but I think Haaland's the same. I think Haaland's one of those. If you get in his ear, he's half the player. If you get under his skin. But you have to get under his skin, and that's not always easy. But and teams will. I don't think he's getting 50 goals this season. I think teams. I'm not saying he'll get found out, but I think teams will know how to defend against him a bit more this season, which is why Pep might even do a bit more of the 4-4-2 with using Alvarez a bit more, because he's not going to sit on the bench for another season, is he? He's going to want to look to move on as well, like Jesus did. So, I think it's a fluid situation. Just before we take questions, and by the way, if you have got any questions, if you just put a Q before them, Danny will capture the best ones, or indeed the shit ones, whatever's left. We've also just put our fantasy league in the chat if you want to join that. I haven't actually signed up this year. I don't know if I can be asked this year.
No,
I always start it but then I always think I'm missing out if I don't. So I don't know.
Tell them the code, Chris, the last few letters.
So the code is, so you go to auto join and then it's QUL6DR. That is QUL6DR, all in lowercase. So if you want to join us, do it. But just before we take questions, pop them in the chat if you've got any. I'll ask you both. New rule changes, Fam. I don't know if did you see this thing?
Getting our money's worth.
Yeah. Well, not only the time. Did you see this thing that went viral about our good old friend Gary Neville suggesting that PGMOL had implemented the touchline behaviour rule because of Arteta? Now, what a load of
Arteta's law.
The Arteta law. But what did you make of it? Because I can see the time doesn't bother me. I can see Varane's point of view and the professionals saying, look, it's an extra tax on the players. I do get that.
Yeah, but that will stop when they realise it's been added on the end. They'll stop fucking around during the game.
Well, this is exactly my. I mean, do you
think that?
No.
Well, so let's deal with each one then. So the time wasting one. I don't know if it. Okay, let's say they cut out time wasting totally all through the game, which kind of impossible. It seems that we're always going to get 8 to 10 minutes, no matter what, even if there was no time wasted.
Yeah.
It seems they've just said, okay, well,
we've got
where they were supposed to add in substitutions, okay, so they're going to add that for every sub now. If there's 10 subs a game, if they're adamant on doing that, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of time wasting in all the leagues last season.
And the World Cup.
Yeah, you saw the graphic of League 2, I think it was. The ball was in play for 48 minutes.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I mean,
And how are Newcastle going to function without all that time?
Well, there's a few rules that affect Newcastle. It should have been some of them should have been the Newcastle rules.
Yeah.
So that was a time wasting one. The one about technical areas, very, very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're only allowed one person in the technical area at a time.
We're fucked. I mean, all those staff. I mean,
Newcastle are definitely screwed with that one, aren't they?
Oh, Jason Tyndall,
Tyndall, he's gonna be don't know what to do himself.
Rotational
but yeah,
fouling.
we do our set piece coach does come out to instruct at set pieces. I don't know. That means Arteta has to go and sit down when he stands up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they got rid of Mr. Steve Round.
Oh, maybe he wasn't fit enough to get up and down.
No point of having him.
No.
But yeah, that's a fascinating one. All the stuff about you have to stay in your technical area. I just think that's
it's a bit petty, isn't it?
It's so petty. I understand if they don't go to the fourth official. I'm totally fine. That's fine. No, don't abuse it. But if you're running down the touchline, the other direction of the other bench, let's say, you're not actually disturbing anyone. You know, if you're not running down, but if you're outside of your technical area,
by a foot,
why should you get a yellow card for that? Yeah,
but also you go to the Emirates. Our technical boxes are quite large because there's that big drop off the side of the pitch. Yeah. You go to somewhere like Palace where the ground is literally on. How can you police a rule where every box size is different? It's
different. Yeah,
I don't get how you can. Some are close together, some are wide apart. Old Trafford is on. You got those steps up to it. I don't know. I don't know how that's a thing.
Did you see the other one that they'd done the celebration time for each club?
Yeah, I mean that's
Arsenal
stupid because
6th or something with 68 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, we were first all around, weren't we?
Yeah, we were loving it.
Yeah, we were the.
But that's the joy of the game, isn't it?
It's like I just don't. It's like a lot of this stuff is gonna you cannot celebrate goals because you're thinking, okay, if I celebrate, they're gonna add on this much time.
Yeah.
You're gonna think, okay, I can't celebrate as a manager because I might come out my touchline and get a yellow card.
Yeah.
I can't even wave my hands as a manager because I'm gonna get a yellow card. It's like I get it, like you want to stop the scent and all this stuff, but where does the passion of the game come into it? Is it that broken that we need to
kill it off? Yeah,
kill it off where players are going to be more like robots than they are now.
Because you want those Reece Nelson moments, don't you? And I mean, I do get that every goal celebration doesn't have to turn into a full scale picture opportunity, and everyone has to be involved, and it takes 10 minutes. Like I get that, but every player's individual. For every Alan Shearer running to the line like that, there is a Anthony or somebody doing some kind of dumb TikTok dance, but that's their thing. Like if that's what you want to do, sure, you look like a bellend, but if that's what you want to do, go for goal. It's your moment, you've scored the goal. And I guess the argument there is, why don't you just make a universal thing and you just say any goal that's scored, you add on 30 seconds regardless. If the celebration goes on for if they're literally bringing out props and, like a change of clothes halfway through, bring on a set, fine. Then you draw the line. You say, no, come on, lads, let's get on with it. But if it's literally like some go to the corner, some go off in a group, whatever, if you just say the universal rule is you add on 30 seconds per goal. And if a team's taking the piss, then you have a look at your watch and you go, actually, that was about 2 minutes. You add that on and you make a note. Like, what does the fourth official do? But
then again, it comes down to common sense.
Yeah.
It's like I was hearing stories this weekend in the Championship of a team losing 2-1 and their keepers, the team that's losing's keeper is getting booked for time wasting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, have some common sense, referee. Like, my team is losing.
That's never happened.
Why would he waste time?
Why am I wasting time? There's a game where a team's up 5-0 or 6-0, and they're adding on 10 minutes. It's like,
just get it done.
And we saw that our players were getting kicked and fouled. Nothing happened, but you kicked the ball away, yellow card.
But then there's also the Odegaard. Well, actually, no, because that one that you bring up there, Danny. So that one I'm actually not against, right? Because I know Partey was a bit petulant, but he has to know better. He kicks the ball away.
They've been told the rules before.
Exactly. He kicks the ball away. Like he knew what he was doing, But what, again, it's going to come back to that word, consistency. When you've got Rodri, who literally is a fucking fraud of a footballer. He's a very good footballer, I should say that. But he's also a massive fraud in that he spends the entire game cynically fouling the opposition to get ahead. And at the start of the game, we get an instant booking. Was it Havertz, I think it was, for the pullback? Rodri does it 4 more times in the game, and you got pricks on the commentary going, well, the referee has to manage the game situation. No, he fucking doesn't. Just book him. Because, as is the old argument...
every game against us, by the way.
Exactly. But the old adage is, if he gets booked, and then 2 minutes later he does it again, and the referee goes, sorry, mate, rules are off you go, he will stop it, because his manager will stop it. Pep is taking advantage of that rule, and as much as I can't stand the bold fraud, he's right to do so. So, as Arteta should be right, we're no angels. We were shithousing a lot last year as well. But if you play, every situation is exploited, isn't it? In every walk of life. If you're sat at work and your boss isn't in, you're going to take your foot off the pedal that day, because that's human nature. But if you know the rules and you know the camera's on you all the time, and you know that you've been told you cannot kick the ball away, and if you do, you will be booked, it's very simple. Don't do it. Or if you're going to do it, make sure you do it in a clever way. And Partey was silly there. And
I don't think there's a clever way of doing it anymore. Because even when Alvarez did, it was such a slight one, but he still got yellow. Now, the question with that one is it just kicking the ball away? What about the one that footballers do, the sly one where they foul or they make a foul, or they hold on to the ball and then throw it in the air? Will they get a yellow card for that now as well? I don't know.
I think they do, because wasn't there?
They do, yeah. I thought that
one,
as well, yeah.
I think there was one in the Championship again, like you say, where the player where they roll the ball 4 yards in front of them instead of where it's taken. I think there was one book for that,
didn't he?
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and I think that's punishable as well. And also going off the pitch, this whole rule of because that's crept back in, hasn't it, where players started to actually walk across the pitch again. That's being clamped down on.
How about this one from Matt D'Souza? 30 seconds after the goal, just let the opposition kick off.
There you go. No, absolutely. Because then if you're not in formation, can you imagine, like in Ferguson's era, if you got Anthony doing a TikTok dance and the team kick off? Wasn't there a game like a few years ago where a team was celebrating and the team raced to the halfway line and kicked off and they all shat themselves and ran back? I'm sure there was one. So, but then the other argument is, and I think someone's put it in the chat, that you have this situation with the Odegaard problem where he clearly had an injury and was told you cannot come back on the pitch for 30 seconds after treatment. How is that right? And where does that leave the concussion rule? Like, how is that?
I think they say the concussion rule is that you're out for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
is that a thing? Is
12 days? Yeah, 12 days.
But that doesn't change. But that doesn't change the in-game, does it? If the doctor deems them to be okay to carry on, and they've gone off for that injury, so that's 30 seconds as well, or we just stop the game?
Any injury, you can't come back on for 30 seconds now.
I mean, that's just like...
to be fair, I'm going to say Arsenal do take advantage
they do.
The injury thing. Every first half and second half,
little tactical
they always have one and have a long team talk.
Ramsdale kicking out of play.
Yeah. Ramsdale. Well, that's probably what the teams will start doing now. They'll get the keepers to do it because they're not going to... What are you going to do?
You're not going to send the keeper.
You'll see that. I bet you any money you'll see more in added time, and that's another thing. They will not add more added time if teams start time wasting in added time.
I agree.
So if you start time wasting from the minute that board is held up, that time is not going to be added on. I bet you any money. So that's the time when teams will start, and what you see is substitutes will start going down with cramp and things like that. Because they don't mind the yellow card. But the one thing is that 5 yellow card rule before you get a suspension, that's going to be massive. So many players are going to get 5 yellow cards within the first 10 games.
Weeks. Anybody who's a betting man, put money on bookings this weekend because you're going to see hundreds of them. And also, to your point, Fem, another one I think you're going to see a lot more of, the ancient art of the holding the ball in the corner that has gone away in recent years, that's going to be back in force. You're going to get situations where a player is going to be shielding in the corner and two of his teammates are going to stand right in front of him
Saka
to
loves
prevent
it,
people getting around. I guarantee they will, because to every situation there is a a way around it, and
you'll see that teams will start making substitutes at 89 minutes now.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in bringing on subs to kill a game.
No.
In the 80th minute anymore, because you've still got 20 more minutes basically to go. Sometimes you'll see teams, they'll bring players on right on the 90th minute to see out the game or to chase the game with fresher legs, because when you get to about the 5th minute of added times, the other team's players are going to be shattered. There's going to be it will change the game a little bit, And
we haven't even
let's see how long it lasts.
We haven't mentioned VAR either, have we? I mean, imagine the stoppages for that this season. I mean, does anyone know the offside rule anymore?
They're going to add on VAR time as well.
And let's not forget who's been reappointed into the FA this week as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's been there.
I mean, you couldn't make it out, could you? It's just, this guy is fired for being incompetent. Let's put him in charge. What? But then the only other one I was going to mention, Matt DeCesar put in the chat there, majority of players seek treatment is bollocks. I agree with you, Matt. It happens at Sunday League level, but you can't tar every player with that brush, because for every 5 or 6 Antonys, there's a genuine injury to another player. I'm picking on Anthony a lot, mainly because he's a bell end. But for every player that Richarlison's another king of this, rolling around, grimacing and clutching every orifice he's got. For everyone like that, there is a Kieran Tierney, for example, who might just go over on his ankle. But from a referee's perspective, you can't discriminate and say, oh, he's not that type of player. They have to treat them all equally. So you can't really just say, oh, yeah, they're all faking it, because some aren't. And if they don't play on the game, or they don't stop the game, and a player has got a serious injury, I mean, can you imagine that Marcelo tackle? Okay, that was very obvious. The guy had broken his leg. But we've seen it. We've seen incidents where players have broken ankles or legs, and what was it? Saka played, didn't he? And he broke a bone in his leg and took that penalty against Spurs. That's a classic situation where players' adrenaline got him through the game. But the point is, if he strikes that ball, scores the penalty, and then goes down, what are we saying? Oh, well, because he took the penalty, he's fine. You can't diagnose that injury until the adrenaline wears off and the circumstances are around it. So
And more than likely, if you are fouled and get treatment, your team probably has a free kick. So the advantage of having a free kick is basically gone, to be honest with you, because you're playing with 10 men basically. So it's a lot of change. There's quite a few little tweaks to the rules as well. It's not just those ones. I can't. Yeah, I think they're just applying quite a lot of things that were written in the rule books, but were never. They were kind of they're there. We'll apply them. Now they're trying to. Howard Webb is trying to come in and clean up the game or whatever they're trying to do, and all of this type of stuff.
But something that doesn't change is most of the referees are just shite. So it doesn't matter how the rules are, if they're just not very good refs.
We only saw one the other day, and it was frustrating enough. We've got. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, the first week is, and to be honest, the one thing I do agree with Varane, and I think Pep said it as well, is that you want to implement this stuff. Discuss it with the teams, the players, the managers. Even if you're going to say, oh, well, we're not going to listen to you and just do it anyway, don't let them find out about it a week before the season starts. No. Apparently they found out the same way we found out, and then they had meetings with the league. Arteta saying, well, I only found out 2 weeks ago. I can't change my whole behavior in 2 weeks. That's when we found out about 2 weeks ago. This stuff should have been discussed in meetings. They should have gone to grounds and spoken to players and said, this is why we're doing it. This is why it can't continue. They have to have dialogue.
Just making stuff up as they go along to try and seem like they're doing something.
Football's not alone in this, is it? We had the controversy in the Ashes, didn't we, this summer? There's been quite a few NFL calls that I think have been highlighted in America. there are other sports that suffer with this, but I think football being the marquee sport, it's going to get highlighted more than other sports. But I think, like you said, Fem, we're just going to have to sort of wait and see. And that by Christmas, a lot of this is going to be either out the window
this
or.
Is it. This is the problem.
Was it 10 steps for a goalkeeper? Then you had to let
who's
it go.
Who's counting that? Like, really?
6 seconds.
6 second rule. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. I will never forget Henry handing the ball to Chris Kirkland. That is etched in my memory.
Who do you think's the first keepers that's going to get 5 bookings for time wasting?
Oh, Nick
miss
Pope.
a game.
Nick Pope's the king of it, isn't he? I mean,
Martinez.
but Martinez is the sort of guy who'll just volley upfield and not even think about it. I mean, Nick Pope is the king of that because he's pretty dreadful with it at his feet anyway. He'll waste as much time as he can get. There's a few.
They've been handing them out in the championship, haven't they, for keepers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, wasn't there there was a keeper sent off was it Notts County? I think he was sent off for 2 bookables or something. So
was he?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It'll be interesting. As we've all said, we just want the love of the game, really. Just want to enjoy the games, but
which is what we'll do with it.
Exactly what we'll do when the season
it
starts.
Works.
Completely unrelated, but I'll just throw it. Well, it is related. I'll just chuck it in here. I got an email the other day from the Devon FA, and although I don't manage the Pirates anymore, or we don't have a team anymore, I'm still in the email database. And interestingly, at grassroots level, they are now doing points deductions for teams that don't behave, which I think is a really good step. So if a referee puts in a report against a team for being verbal abusive, like touchline supporters or players being aggressive on the pitch, more than 2 red cards in a game, that sort of thing, teams can get actively deducted points. I think that's a really good step because that will promote people to
security guards for the refs, then, won't they?
Well, that's but bear in mind these points deductions are done. It's not like the referee finishes the game and goes, right, you get a points deduction. It's not going to be like that. It will be he'll put in his report, which goes to the FA of the county, and then 10 days later they'll write to the club saying, our referee deemed your behaviour to be unacceptable, therefore we're deducting you 3 points. And yes, the clubs can have a tribunal to fight it, but they have to present evidence. And with the growing amount of teams at the lower levels recording games now, we will get to a stage where it will be like a proper discussion. But I like it. And as Phil said, it would never happen in the top level because there's too much money at stake. But at grassroots level, where they are struggling to get referees, and I've seen abuse for years. I've seen abuse at that level. I've given a bit, to be fair, but you do have to respect those officials and people that put on, because they're not paid very much money at that level, and people who.
Do you reckon there's bribery going on there?
There can be. It's very rare. It's not really worth it for referees at our level because they're getting paid like 20 quid a game, and don't forget their dream at our level is to referee in the Premier League. They want to go up the leagues, so it's not really in their interest to play. And like Rennie's just put in the chat there, Rennie's his son played from the age of 6, 15 now. More often than not, they don't even get a ref. It's just fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's just. But hopefully that will change because we need better officials. We do. And is there any new referees this year? Do we know? I don't think.
No idea. There was something else I wanted to talk about. We ain't got much time, but Newcastle pre-season had players wearing cameras. What do you think to that?
I didn't see that. I must admit.
Did you see it, Fem?
Well, like GoPros.
Yeah, in the middle of their chest. Did you see it, Femi?
In MLS games?
No, I think Newcastle played a friendly, and a couple of the players had GoPros in the middle, or built-in GoPros into their shirts.
Oh, players as well. I thought it was just the refs.
No.
I saw they had a few mic'd up, but I mean, it's. I suppose it. I mean, what benefit do you get out of seeing? Because I've seen like YouTubers do it for charity matches and stuff, and you don't really see anything. You just see a lot of noise and arms flailing and stuff. I don't know what did they do it for? Do you know?
It was Man United v Newcastle v Man City. And the article, this is the first one I found. Newcastle United allow cameras behind the scenes for a... No, that's not it, you fucking idiots. I'm trying to find a picture of the shirt. There you go.
It's interesting. I know a lot of coaches now I think Pochettino is one of the first to do it in France, where they have scaffolding built over the training so they can have a downward perspective from the cameras, so they can see where players move, and they all do GPS tracking and stuff. So it is going into that realm. Are you showing it now? Okay.
You can see it in the middle of the shirt.
Well, that's Villa for a start. That's not Newcastle, but
thank you very much for that.
Oh yeah, so on the okay.
Yeah. It's like RoboCop.
It does have it.
And they were doing it during the there you go. That was a view from one of the players.
Yeah. So what do you get out of that? What benefit? Yeah, that.
Like,
what benefit do you get out of that? Like, it's a gimmick, but do you actually learn
the one that they did, the MLS one with the referees? I think there was an angle of one of the Arsenal goals. I think it was
Jesus chip. Yeah.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good.
There's also a very good documentary. Danny can play his Kris Talks French Football thing here, but there's a very good documentary. If you go to the official Liga Uber Eats English YouTube page, they mic'd up some of the leading referees in France for a few games last year, and they've now put it into a 30-minute YouTube documentary. It's really good, and you really hear like Lacazette's in it quite a lot, actually, where I think it's a game of Nantes and the referee's talking to, first name terms of the players and how they explain, and they call each other, like, he's like, oh, Monsieur Lacazette, come to me. Like, it's very formal, but it works. Like, it really does work, and how they treat players in France. So it's worth a watch if you get bored.
I was just looking at the new rules. There's one little positive rule. I think they cleared up the double jeopardy rule. The
red card thing.
Yeah, the red card when you give away a penalty thing. I think it's just been such a mess, hasn't it? Where you get the David Luiz type thing where he gets sent off, and then some players they say. So I think that they're saying all upper body challenges now, like a shoulder to shoulder, won't be a red card. There'll be like a yellow card. So I think they use the example of Cancelo last season against Fulham.
Yeah, we ran across
where everyone was up in arms where you got a red. So things like that they're saying will be yellows now.
So as long as you charge head first into somebody, you're all right. But you can't kick them. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how you.
There'll be a way around it, would there?
Not make a genuine challenge for the ball in the area unless someone's running past you and you literally pull them back like Rodri did.
Or pull them by the hair or something.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Are we going to mention new goalie?
We can do quickly, and then we'll just finish with the questions.
New goalie thing.
I think
just before you go, did you see Brad Fiedel today saying it's just not sustainable? Before you go on that.
I didn't see it, but I don't disagree. But I think the deal we've done is brilliant business. I think you said it in the chat last night, Fam, didn't you? I think that loan deal is genius if that's what we've gone, because you can't lose, because you push Ramsdale now, you give Raya an opportunity to probably play the cup games and maybe some of the early Champions League games. But if it doesn't work out, Raya goes back to Bournemouth with a new contract anyway, so his value is still sustained. Everybody's happy, and if Ramsdale has a bit of a shocker and goes the other way, then you keep Raya and you move Ramsdale on as a very expensive English goalkeeper, which I wouldn't be in favour of, by the way, but the option's there. The only thing I think that a lot of people have overlooked in this, I don't know if either of you have thought about this. Do you think that piece that Ramsdale did recently about the Players' Tribune, where he spoke really well, I just wonder what that young man has gone through in the last 12 months. We've all dealt with things in our lives, I'm sure. Things affect people in different ways. And I just wonder, like, who's to say if Ramsdale had a couple of games like, do you remember Illan Meslier last season for Leeds, where he just literally couldn't catch fuck all for weeks? I just wonder if Ramsdale has a few of those weeks where a few things do go against him, like in pre-season, and then all of this stuff that's happened in his personal life suddenly comes to the surface again, which can happen. Do you think maybe there's an element of Arteta doing that to refocus him, but also go, look, if you need time off or if things come up again, I've got a backup? Because we all knew Turner was competent backup, but he was never on a level with Ramsdale, was he? Like, he just wasn't. Whereas I think Raya is. So yeah, is that? I mean, am I barking at the wrong tree, fam? Do you think, or could it be taken into consideration that Arteta's just protecting himself in case Ramsdale does have circumstances that are off the pitch?
I mean, it's not even just circumstances. If Ramsdale got injured, what the hell would we do? I mean, you just have nothing close to his style. I mean, you're looking at Matt Turner doesn't play for us anymore. Karl Hein, every time he seems to step on an Arsenal pitch,
he's not ready.
He just falls apart. Yeah, but I mean, he's an international goalkeeper. But every time he's been called, he just seems to fluff his line. You know, he just seems so nervous. So you're then left with a choice, I guess, of do I go and buy another backup goalkeeper, number 2 keeper, or do I buy someone to actually compete for the spot? I guess was probably the question that Arteta was asking himself, and I guess the opportunity came along. They probably didn't think Raya was going to be available at this stage. But I mean, I feel sad for Ramsdale if he lost his place. It hasn't happened yet, but I keep thinking if he lost his place, the only reason he would lose his place is because Raya's playing really well, and that's only good for Arsenal. So it is going to get to a point where we actually do like a lot of these players, and it's going to get to a point where some of them are going to get displaced at some point.
And he made a good point himself, Ramsdale, didn't he? Where he said in the interviews, like, we'll bring it on, first of all. And he also made the point, I did this at Sheffield United. I took the place of the player there. So
for Leno's place.
Absolutely. Yeah, he pushed Leno out, really, didn't he? Yeah, with his form. So, you know, I think if it was a goalkeeper that had a lesser personality than Ramsdale, I'd be concerned. But I think that a player like I don't feel like this will affect Ramsdale other than drive him on. And I think, strangely, a few podcasts have picked up on this. I think him and Raya will actually get on quite well, because Raya's got that Bellerin Spanish London thing, hasn't he? He's very sort of Londonized. I think they'll get on fine. And I think Ramsdale said when Matt Turner signed that Turner was a really good trainer, and that drove him to the form.
The relationship seems to be really good.
I think
he did. He said goalkeepers union. He said, people laugh at it, but it is a thing.
I think the only issue that is going to come is if Raya is selected for those big Champions League games ahead of Ramsdale. That's probably where you're going to see, because Ramsdale's worked hard to get us into the Champions League. Yeah, he now deserves to play the games, doesn't he?
Whereas
the FA Cup,
who plays? I mean, how does Man City do it? I mean, I know they don't have a high-profile keeper, but one thing that you notice is that keeper is very similar in style of play to.
Ortega's good as well.
He's similar in style as well. So it's not like a total change. Going from Ramsdale to Turner is like a totally different style of. It changes your whole style of your defending, your style of build-up. Yeah. So you've now got 2 keepers who similar in that vein, aren't they? So yeah. So
I think City played Ederson in their major Champions League games, didn't they?
Yeah,
or did they?
And league, they do league and Champions League. The other keeper plays all the cup games. It's just that they go far in the cups. That's the only thing.
But didn't Ederson come in for the Champions League final?
No.
Or am I imagining?
Pretty sure he plays Champions League and league games.
Danny, find out the stats last season.
Yes,
thank you.
Clipping a nail that I twisted.
But I don't know why. I just have this feeling that Ortega played quite a few of those Champions League games. I think he played against Leipzig. And again, it depends how we do in the Champions League. So if Ramsdale, when we draw Bayern, because we all know we're going to draw Bayern, if we've somehow beaten Bayern and then we've beaten FC Plastic Bag and IFK IKEA in the third game and we're through, but then you can say to Raya, you'll get the last 3 games. Because it doesn't matter then, does it? Yeah, go on.
Ortega played 3 Premier League, 6 FA Cup, 3 League Cup, 2 Champions League, 14 in total.
Who was the Champions League games he played? Does it say?
Okay, give me a minute and I shall let you know. Talk amongst yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
16 games seems so low. He seemed to
It
play
does,
a lot.
doesn't it?
And
It
they
does.
do go quite far in the cups as well. So
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
The 2 games he played in the Champions League was 2 group games. The last 2 group games, Dortmund 0-0 and Sevilla 3-1.
It's Sevilla, so it wasn't Leipzig. Okay.
Yeah,
But again,
so
they were already through then to the last 2 group games.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
We just have to do well in the cups. I think a lot of this is prefaced on us doing well in cups.
Yeah.
He didn't lose a game all season.
If you're getting knocked out in the first 2 rounds of a cup, that's when you're gonna have big problems keeping another goalkeeper happy. If you're going quite deep into the cup, FA Cup finals, League Cup finals, and your keeper that's second string, and you're the one picking up the trophy, then
you don't care.
You probably don't care as much as if you're just.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because it's goalkeepers.
Season.
Anywhere else, we're like, no, we're brilliant. 2 right backs, 3 left backs, 12 centre backs, fantastic. 2 goalkeepers, what? No, like we're all going.
I think it's because we've never. Every example that you can think of, it's just never worked. I think Real Madrid is the last one I can think of that tried it with Courtois and Courtois and
what's his face?
Good Neves at the time. Neves had won the Champions League a couple of times for them.
Yes,
Navas,
right. Navas, Keylor Navas. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he was good at that time, and one of them was playing Champions League, one of them was playing League.
Barcelona as well.
A season.
Claudio Bravo and Ter Stegen, I think, shared it for a season.
Yeah. It only lasts a season, no more than that.
We did it. Fabianski and Chesney were arguably on a similar level at the time.
Yeah.
So it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it hasn't been confirmed yet. But what I would say is, if we do get him on loan, I think that's win-win, because loans can be terminated. So if it did have a really bad effect, we could ship him back. But also, or as is probably would be the case, Brentford could coincidentally accept a bid for him in January. That terminates the loan and away he goes. So if it doesn't work out, but I Ramsdale doesn't strike me as a sort of character who's just going to roll into a corner and cry. I think this will motivate him even more, and it remains to be seen, doesn't it? Really, now it's just you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? So I guess we'll see. But a loan deal makes a lot of sense because you don't lose. And what is it? 20 million if we decide to buy him, 25 or something?
Yeah, 27, I think.
And we're paying 3 million for the loan. I mean, that's nothing, is it? And what was it? Because Brentford have agreed to it because of our financial fair play. I mean, nice. London United, Anyway, Danny, shall we finish with some questions? Because we have gone a bit longer than we planned.
And that's a shock to absolutely nobody.
Well, nobody in the chat is complaining,
They certainly are not. I mean, procrastinating wombles, but what is the thinking, man's cheese? That's just nonsense. You've been wombling on Wimbledon Common too much. Our very own Mr. Walker says, for Kris, when are we buying Draxler? Just give him a look. See one of your painted looks.
He gets so much hate in the group every time he puts that down. He's still at PSG, by the way. He's very much available.
And he follows that up with, if Femi can have this one, if near the end of the transfer window we still have Pepe, do we try and integrate him into the first team for cup games?
I think it's too late now, personally. Yeah. I don't know what people are. I think him being totally frozen out of preseason, as in go and train by yourself. I think if he stayed, it's very hard to reintegrate that level of you're out of the squad back in.
Yeah,
I think it's a season of frustration if he stays. But I mean, Arteta has done it a few times. Like he tried with Maitland-Niles, I guess, after that message that he sent out, like we're blocking his dreams.
Yeah, do you remember that? Oh God,
yeah. He came back in and he did play a couple of games, but that didn't last too long. But
Torreira, I think he tried it with, didn't he, briefly?
Torreira a little bit, yeah. It's very messy when he seems to have a hardcore set of disciples that he will stick with until he's not sticking with them. Once you're out with Arteta, it seems. I just can't see it.
Wasn't it quite sad to see Pepe putting up his Instagram fitness videos wearing his old Arsenal training kit? It was like,
I really wonder, like, I don't know if I could handle it as a footballer. You know, 1 minute you're just like the flavour of the month, the next minute you're not even allowed to. I mean, to
But you,
I don't know.
but you
The
say that
documentary last year when Aubameyang sitting in a car saying, "Yeah, I'm not allowed.
I'm not allowed in. I'm out."
Yeah.
But you say that you're a similar vintage to me. Like, you must have done a job where you've just clocked in and fucking hated every minute of it. Like, but you still do it because you got to pay the bills. Like, don't you just go into that mode of, oh well, fuck it. I mean, they're paying me. I don't have to do anything. Like, who cares? So there is an element of lack of motivation until someone picks you up and you go, oh, you got a new job and you're re-energized again. Like, so I feel sorry for the guy because I think he got a raw deal in that it wasn't his choice that he was £72 million. It wasn't his choice that allegedly some brown envelopes went in directions at his expense.
Said Rabona TV, their latest video is Pepe. The Lille owners said they had a higher bid for him, but he chose Arsenal.
They did.
It was
he was asked to choose Arsenal.
Was he?
Who
was the other bid from?
Who was the other bid from?
Oh, I think they said it was Napoli.
Was it Napoli?
Because that would make sense.
Yeah, no, it would make sense because PSG were sniffing, but yeah, Napoli would make sense. I just remember somebody saying that somebody had bid. I think it was 81, all inclusive. I think. So, but there is a player
the year after, right?
Say again?
They bought Osimhen, same club, right?
Yeah, from Lille. Yeah, from
if we waited a year, we could have had him.
But there was a player in Pepe. You look at his goals contributions, but it was all Saka. But it was always his off
him on the left.
But it was his off the ball. That's the thing with Pepe. He never worked hard enough, and he didn't offer us enough for Arteta. That's the. I genuinely don't think they fell out. I really don't. I think it was just a case of, like with Sambi and Tavares, it's pretty clear that Arteta fell out with them. I think with Pepe, I think it was just a case of, look, you go away for a year and we'll see what we do with you. But yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on the end of that question, if it was a choice between termination and keeping him,
$7.5 million to terminate,
I would keep him.
Edu, at the end of that Rabona TV thing, there's a quote from Edu saying, once a player gets to 27 or 28 years old, it is no longer financially viable to keep a player at the club on high wages.
Wow, there you go. So he's gone. It's him and Raul on an island somewhere.
Because you can't sell him.
No, you can't. But don't be surprised if he rocks up somewhere. I mean, I hope it's not Saudi Arabia, but don't be surprised if he rocks up somewhere in the Leverkusen or, Spain somewhere and actually does really well. Like, don't be surprised.
He's got the money just to go back to France and be happy there, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it didn't really work out in France. And he went to a basket case in Nice. But if he gets
rid of thingy to Luton, haven't they? Ross Barkley.
He could go the
manager went, the manager said, I don't know who he is when he was at Nice.
And they still got Henry Lansbury there as well.
Henry retired.
He retired.
To start what did he start? A grass
fertilization that isn't damaging to the environment company. Him and his missus figured it out during lockdown. He's been, I'm going to do this now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but he was a bit part player last season. But their two goalkeepers are both ex-Arsenal, aren't they?
Matt Macy and who's the other one? I know Matt Macy's there.
I can't remember. Anyway, let's do another question.
Yeah. But God bless Pepe. Still love you, mate.
I do. I think you could do a great job, and I'm really sad that he isn't staying. But at 180 grand a week, you can't be fifth choice centre back like everyone else is fifth choice centre back.
It'd be the greatest redemption arc of all time as Pepe fires us to the Champions League.
He doesn't have the look of someone who is driven to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was a goalkeeper when he started out. Little known fact.
In the lower leagues, yeah.
Yeah. Phil Macker, for you, Kris. Is the Arsenal transfers out department still on their holidays?
I think he's got that the wrong way. Oh, no, the transfers.
Yeah.
I don't know, Phil, is the answer to that. I don't think anyone knows. There was one of the large tweets. Was it AFC stuff or somebody tweeted today and said the priority now with Arsenal is very much getting people out the door. And I think the names quoted were Sambi, Cedric. He's still there. Still celebrating in pictures. Bless him. Sambi, Cedric, Tavares. There was 2 others. Who were the other 2?
That what?
Anyway, there's 2 other fringe players that they are actively working on, and I think Marquinhos is going to where's he going on
I was
loan?
about to say, I think they've been working hard to
half
a
million
lot of
loan
loans
fee.
as well.
Yeah, I
Full
think
loan, really, isn't it?
I think we will sell a few. Tavares will go somewhere. I think Sambi's going on loan.
I think Tierney will end up somewhere, and Holding will end up somewhere.
Sadly, I do as well.
Well, seeing what Timber's done on day one. I mean, Timber's got the record at Arsenal, the most number of trophies, the least number of games. 1 game, 1 trophy.
Oh,
And Rice.
But
you're either going to have to sell Tierney or you're going to have to do something with Tomiyasu because
you could probably keep both for a season, but that would be it. I mean, Tierney seems happy. Like he doesn't.
Well, yeah, but he hasn't
started
started a pre-season game at all, and that's with Zinchenko out.
And is he 26? Tierney?
Yeah. So when Zinchenko comes back, is he even going to make the bench? You might as well sell him and get the money while he's still got a value. I mean, if you leave him on the bench out of squads for another season, he's even more devalued.
Tierney's got that deadline day feel about it, hasn't it? Like one of those that goes to the last day, and Newcastle end up paying the money or whatever.
Holding has to go for his probably sake as well.
Yeah, Holding I could imagine pitching up at somewhere like Luton or Sheffield United or one of the teams that are.
No, he's better than that. West Ham. Holding Maguire centre-back partnership.
We just sold Austin Trusty, for God's sake.
Yeah. That was good business, to be fair. Got some decent money for him for minimal outlay. And
Turner, we made...
Balogun, of course. He's another one that, of course, will go.
I mean, there's still a couple of weeks in the transfer window left.
And we're still talking about bringing one in, aren't we? So, I mean, who knows?
Femi, Avon says, do Bayern already know they are drawing us in the group stage of the Champions League? Have we heard anything on what they think about that? Harry Kane coming back to North London?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I didn't think about that. Oh, I feel gross.
I said last time, I've got a weird feeling we're going to draw Barcelona just because of the aggro that happened in that friendly last week. I can just see that coming along.
Well, what about drawing Marseille and Aubameyang coming back? If Marseille get through, which they probably will, that would be quite amusing, wouldn't it?
Are they qualifiers?
They're in qualifiers. Yeah, they won.
Could draw them in it.
I think they won 3-0.
Do you know what? You'll probably you're going to get a good team in the first pot anyway. Yeah. So what you're looking for is a couple of lower ranked teams in the other pot. Maybe let Rangers get through. Let's draw Rangers and
that'd be nice.
Let's just have something fun. It's our first year back.
I don't even know who's in the top seeds. Do you?
It's
obviously
who won the Europa League? Sevilla, I guess. And then
Sevilla.
Then the
Bayern,
league winners.
Real Madrid, Man City.
It'll be Barcelona, not Real Madrid, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because they won the league. Of course, yeah. Good point. Yeah, Atletico will go in pot 2. So yeah.
Or pot 1, Man City, Sevilla, Barcelona,
Napoli will go in then.
Napoli, Bayern, PSG, Benfica, Feyenoord.
Of course, Feyenoord won the Dutch league. Yeah. And Massa, of course.
Oh, and remember, we are eligible for 5 teams.
Yes.
Premier League teams, top 5 could go in, but obviously, I thought it was based on historical data, but it's based on this season. So the English teams have to do well this season. But I was listening to one of the pods this week, and they said English teams would have qualified for it in 5 of the last 6 seasons to get five teams. So it could be top 5 going in the Champions League.
The richest league getting richer and richer.
I think I was wrong on Marseille. I think they actually lost.
What?
I don't know what. I think they lost their first qualifier. It's a 2-legged qualifier, but I think they lost. I'm just checking it now. Oh, somebody's put in the chat they lost to... Yeah, they're playing Panathinaikos. I don't know why I thought they won. I don't know. But anyway, I think they'll turn it around in the second leg because they are... they lost 1-0 in Panathinaikos last night, but the second leg to come.
Well, they've let Kolasinac go to Atalanta, haven't they?
Kondogbia got sent off on his debut. That's hilarious. Who? Kolasinac?
Kolasinac gone to Atalanta. He's joining up with Schumacher up front. Well, let's do some more questions. Shush.
Skamaka.
Proper question for you, Femi, from Graham. Assuming Rice takes on the Xhaka role, can we expect as much progressive play, assists, and goals from him as Granit? Declan will need to transform himself a bit from his West Ham duties.
If he takes that role, we're going to have to be super patient with him because he just does. I mean, like, they're saying he's not obviously 100% fit. He hasn't had a full preseason. But technical level, I don't know if that's his. I mean, that recovery run that he made in midfield where he took the ball off. Yeah, I think that's his game, interceptions, blocking the ball, all that type of stuff, and running from deep with the ball. Doing that Xhaka role is totally different. It's about
Xhaka only did that role last season, didn't he? Really?
He started the season before, sort of like January, back end, Okay. And it did take him a while, but it's a lot of running off the ball. It's a lot of disrupting play. I just don't know if that's his game, or if it is, it's going to take him a while to get used to it, and we have to be really patient. I guarantee you, the first half of the season, you're going to see so many articles, so many other fans saying, "Oh, Rice is a flop, 100 million flop." That's what you're going to see, but we know that it's just going to take him a while. He's coming from a team that is just built on low blocks and defending. That's basically his game. And even for England, he's playing for a manager who is more about defensive work.
I thought you'd say more on.
Yeah, so this is the first time that he's going to be playing for a team that's a progressive team, so it will take him a while to get used to it.
And we've got to be patient as fans while he does that as well. There's no good getting on his back.
We got to block the noise out. There's so much scrutiny from other fans about this Declan Rice and Kai Havertz stuff.
So
we just have to
jealous.
We just have to take it out our own merit. Look at what we see and know it can take long. Remember when Fabio joined Liverpool? He didn't play for the first few months. And Liverpool fans were like, why did we pay like 40 to 50 million for this guy? And he never, ever plays. Comes in the back end of the season, gets them to a Champions League final. It's a long-term deal. Let's just, it's going to take time to gel into the team.
His quality is his quality is there. We can see his quality is there. Is he worth 105 million? Of course he's not. No player is, but it's the going rate. You pay it's the English tax. And as you said, if other teams want to talk, let them talk. No problem. It's ultimately us that will judge him because he's our player, and it's us that will judge on the season. But I like what he says. I like his leadership. The way he talks suggests to me that he's very good, but very quick learner. He's clearly a very confident guy. He's a full England international. He's not just a squad player. He's a starter for England. So I mean, I don't have any concerns really. I think it'll take a few weeks. Wouldn't even be shocked if he didn't start Saturday, if I'm honest. I think he will, but I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't. And who better to have to integrate him than Partey and Jorginho? So he'll be fine.
Look at these latecomers. Si's just turned up. And Paul Not Neil's just bloody turned up. Ridiculous.
We're going to have to let you go, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're going to have to go and start watching the Gooners pod. Right. Not that window.
Christ, give them.
All right.
You're not going to punish them. Jesus.
Well, they're not good enough to go and watch the Highbury squad. That's too good for them.
No, that's too high.
Kev Campbell and Sofa are doing a great job. But Drago says for you, Kris, talking of Steve Round, nice girl, nice and round. Are the club going to bring in a new assistant coach? AirPod Albert will feel lonely.
AirPod Albert's brilliant. I don't think they will because I think Carlos Cuesta is going to get that role. Just judging by, he's very active on his Instagram. He posts a lot of pictures with the squad and a little battery emote, recharge and all this. I think Arteta likes him. He's young, isn't he? He's like 33, 34 or something.
That's sickening, isn't it? Children running off.
Good-looking guy, Spanish, tan all year round,
Stop it.
But I think Carlos Cuesta might get promoted. I know everyone wants to see Santi back. Nobody more than me. I'd love to see that. And I think long-term, Cesc will come back. But I think at the moment it will probably be an internal appointment. And maybe our Pod Albert will just step up a bit more. And now we've got further recruitments in the pit crew. I mean, maybe
hasn't Seth taken a job?
He's Como's second team coach. There's a picture of him recently on his Insta. Look at that picture. Look at that. But yeah, I mean, Arteta and Santi, can you imagine, like, little Santi running down the touchline? Oh,
with his odd-sized boots on.
I love him. And he always said, didn't he wanted to come back one day.
I forgot that he was still playing over there.
Yeah, he's over in Qatar, isn't it?
It was, yeah. Question for Femi from Avon. Speaking of Courtois, who replacing him now that he's done his ACL?
I think he did his ACL in training. Apparently, he went off crying. Yeah. I think the chat really answered that. I think they're about to sign David De Gea.
Oh,
yeah.
Not Ramsdale. That would have been a funny one.
There is a little goalkeeper merry-go-round, isn't there? Because Bayern are trying to sign Kepa for some reason.
Because Neuer went full Neuer.
Yeah, they're trying to sign him on loan. Well, they just seem to want a keeper.
I thought they were getting who were buying after.
They were after the ex-Dortmund keeper. No, they had the ex-Dortmund keeper because they signed the Dortmund keeper in the January when Neuer went full Neuer, and now he's gone to Inter Milan. Yeah.
Yeah, so they need a keeper.
Newell's useless.
The Spurs goalkeeper hasn't moved back to France yet, has he? Lloris?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think he's going on a free, isn't he? I think they've negotiated because they've signed Vicario. Is it the guy's going to come in from Italy? He's going to be first choice.
He let in 5 goals in his debut against Barcelona in the trophy things. They were trying to fill the trophy cabinet by playing Barcelona free transfer 11.
I've just worked out who Bayern were trying to sign. It was Riot, wasn't it? Who? And they were trying to sign
Riot. Of course it was.
Of course, yeah, so that's who.
I'm surprised Howard didn't go there because the Americans love playing in Germany.
But have we checked that Real Madrid's fax machine is working for the De Gea deal this time? Because that famously is what stopped it. How long ago was that? Do you remember when that was all?
Stop signing who? Who can they sign?
They were signing De Gea years ago. Do you not remember this?
No.
You must remember this.
Yeah. The fax machine broke.
Yeah, the fax machine broke.
Well, I could have figured that out, Femi. You could just be making this up as you go along.
No, seriously, the Man United messed up the deal or something like that.
They didn't send the fax. Well, they didn't press send, and it was just sat on the fax. It didn't actually get sent through, and they couldn't.
And Real Madrid were so pissed off.
Yeah, and this was when De Gea was like quite good.
Yeah, it was really
like
good.
5 years ago.
350 grand a week for a goalkeeper. No. Final question. I will give this to Femi because Kris has been talking all night. Do Sambi and Tavares overestimate their ability, and is this why they've struggled to offload them? From Paul James. Cheers, Paul.
Do we? I mean, they don't overestimate their own ability. I think
that's what he's implying.
Any footballer would back themselves. Yeah,
we are brilliant.
Yeah, I think footballers should back themselves. And
Sambi doesn't.
Leave him alone, poor bastard.
I mean, Sambi came with a big reputation. I mean, his manager was talking him up quite a lot. He had a lot of compliments. I mean, he got picked for the Belgium squad while he was first coming into our team. So, I mean, there's definitely talent there, but sometimes it's just not the right fit. As we kind of said with Havertz, sometimes it's just not the right fit. He needs game time. He needs rhythm, and he's missing something. I don't know. Maybe the level is just too high for him at that age. Maybe so. I thought he would. I mean, the Palace move was a bit weird. He just didn't play after Vieira left, and while Vieira was there, he lost every single game. So it's one of those ones. And as for Nuno, I think that's just it's a young player. He didn't ever look like he would fit our system. To be fair, he's got raw talent, but if you can get a fee for him, matching or above what you paid, then just take it. I think they're young players that we bought and we can shift them on. I don't see why we can't.
And just to briefly add to that, I think the documentary killed Sambi. because that we all know that moment, don't we? That well, I want to play too, you dickhead kind of thing in the canteen. I don't think genuinely. I think that finished him. I think because I just think everyone's opinion went, okay, he's a knob. Get him out. And as for Tavares, the biggest problem with Tavares is not many teams want to sign defenders who can't defend, which is a bit of an issue when you're signing a left back who literally can't defend. Bless him, but there's a reason why he was popping up on a lot of Arsenal timelines last year for his goals that he was scoring, because he was playing as a left wing back for Marseille.
Well, they dropped him for Kolasinac.
Yeah, because he refused to track back. So it's like, you know, if you play him as a winger or as a, you know, sort of an attacking wing back and you play 3 centre halves, fine. But no, he's a liability in terms of defensive work, unfortunately. So, but he'll get a move because he's got attributes. He's a good athlete. He's quick, decent on both feet. So yeah, he'll get a move, but it will probably be somewhere. Germany, Italy, like a Fiorentina or a Frankfurt, someone like that. It won't be to one of the major clubs. I'd be surprised anyway if he did.
Femi says, reports saying Ricolson is out and needs surgery.
Oh,
all of the lols.
Oh, that being Kane stays then, doesn't it? Honestly, though, all jokes aside, if he doesn't go to Bayern, he is a specialist in failure, isn't he? What a lack of ambition.
I said at the beginning of the summer, this guy is signing a new contract.
Yeah.
He's gonna. That's how this is all gonna end, with him signing a new contract.
There goes the sketches. Right, we have got 18 likes. You low life.
18.
Fucking 18.
2 hours we've sat here. I'm supposed to finish at 9.
I want those likes up to at least 100, or we're not going anywhere. So get tappy.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going somewhere.
I'll tell you that the Welshman has messaged me twice now this year when when my family keep dying. Both times, been really, really nice of him. What a lovely man.
If it's bringing you two back together, then keep killing them off. I'm joking.
I'm not saying he wants to make sweet love, but I was very, it's nice. People will be happy to hear that.
The comeback. The comeback greater than Saka, the redemption arc of Davies.
Yeah, but then after about 2 shows of him talking over everyone, I get fucking go, shut up, will you?
Daniel can shut up. I'm talking.
He's never Ramsey's shit. So he's in the Championship.
Oh, we should mention Charlie Patino's gone on loan to Swansea, hasn't he?
Yeah, someone mentioned.
Don't be surprised if he ends up coming back. Don't be surprised if he ends up with a new deal. And Arteta's whispered sweet nothings in his ear, clearly, hasn't he? Because he was gone at the start of the summer. So good luck to him.
Bloody good player.
But yeah, let's hope that you and Jace can have a snuggle over a coffee one day. Hey, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
He's making his sandwiches. It was genuinely lovely.
Yeah, he's a nice bloke. He always has been.
I didn't know. Said he wasn't. I've just got PTSD with the Welsh version. Been told to shut up all the time. There again, some tit told me I'm a fucking idiot on our. Chris, tell them about the reels that we've done.
They're called shorts, Danny. Get with the program, dear. Come on, if you're gonna promote it, at least say it right, for Christ's sake. Yes, we do have an ABW Shorts channel. If Danny's any sort of a producer, he'll put the link in the chat any moment now.
It's just our normal YouTube channel.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Well, we're too lazy to create a new channel, clearly. So fire the staff. But yes, we do have a Shorts channel, and we will be basically snipping bits out. Are you going to play it now? You are, aren't you? Okay. So this was an example of the sort of goodness you're going to get from the Shorts channel.
Talking of Champions League, I've got Arsenal to win it. Am I off my trolley? Can you hear that?
Fucking idiot.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, we heard that. That was me calling Danny a fucking
Talking of
idiot.
Champions League. And then the other one's a little bit longer, but you'll have to go and listen to it. So yeah, I'm being verbally abused by the pirate. But yeah, if anybody finds anything they think is worthy of a short, tweet us, one of us, let me know, and I want the timestamp for it. And if it's good, then I'll go and do it.
Yeah. And it could be anything. It could be me itching my ass. It could be Karl wearing those awful things he puts on his feet that I don't even know what they are. It could be Femi feeding the servants. Whatever it is.
I'm going to say that, but I thought I won't defend all that stuff like that.
Just tweet Danny or one of us, probably Danny, because the rest of us are AWOL most of the week. But yeah, tweet the pod account with the time, and we'll do it. And if we pick up on any, we will be. I'm sure Josh will come up with some magical moments throughout the season.
Oh God, yes.
John's
I mean, Napoli
nefarious.
win the Champions League when their manager's gone and Osimhen's fucking off. Whatever.
But yes, go to the Shorts channel, and more importantly than all that, like this podcast, you vermin. Flick the bell, subscribe, turn your notifications on, send $20 to me, and used underwear to Danny, and that's it, basically. So we're not very good at promoting, are we?
No. Probably we're getting nowhere. I did have 45 new subs last month.
How much do we have to pay them?
Nothing.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, that's cool. And we might do a bit more with the Twitch this year as well. By the way, if you're
on
interested
Twitch now, I'm the only one in there.
Well, yeah. Now we might do more with it. Like I want to do a bit of game on there, for example. So we might try and do a bit.
You and OG Holler playing a little bit of FIFA.
Well, Fem plays FIFA as well, don't you, Fem? I think.
No.
No, okay. I've just made that up. Who else is it? Oh, Josh used to play it. I think Alice does. I thought you did, Fem. I don't know.
I used to, yeah, to be fair. But
do the servants play it for you now?
I just don't have time, to be honest.
They play with your gamer tag to give you all the credit while you lounge around doing nothing. But yeah, we'll be doing a bit more on the Twitch. And as probably all of you know, for the rest of the season, the plan is we're going to do the Thursdays. We're not committing to this, but we might do some Monday shows. So the weeks we don't have Champions League, for example, we might do a couple of Mondays just because it's fresh. And obviously, who wants to hear us talk about the weekend game on a Thursday? So, we might try and do some Mondays. But as is always the case, it just depends on our schedules. But as usual, we'll let you know when we're going live. And if you flick the bell, then we're going live anyway. So there's no bloody excuse.
Yeah.
Vermin, a lot of you. Right. I need to go and eat, and I need to have a shower. And Fem's got things to do, or people have got things to do for him, one or the other. I don't know. Danny, I'm sure you've got something that you could be doing that's.
I'm going to chase flies around the house to get them out.
I mean, I rest my case. I literally rest my case. But yes, we will be back next week. Nobody knows who's going to be on, but some of us will be here. I'll probably be here. Unlucky. But Fem, thank you, because I know it's very last minute that you were able to join us. Go and put the kids to bed, and thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Oh, can I just say, if anyone's on Instagram, go on. You love some Thierry. Go and look at Tony Parker's Instagram videos. See a lot of Thierry Henry on there. He's a basketballer.
I see. That shows how much I knew.
French basketballer, actually. Yeah.
French basketball player called Tony.
Yeah.
Is it Toni?
No, Tony Parker.
Tony. Okay.
Yeah. That'd be Antoine.
Antoine. Yeah.
Antoine.
His best mate.
Ex NBA player, I should say.
Well, his best mate Nigel.
Good friend with
Nigel Bob
Featherstone.
Yeah. Anyway, this has gone off a cliff.
Anyway,
Danny,
take care, guys.
Thank you for that. Danny, you had to be here, but thanks for doing what you do, whatever it is you do.
Pressing buttons ain't easy, much like who were those people in the wrestling?
Oh, yeah,
Bradshaw was one of them. They used to both come on and go.
The APA.
That's it.
APA.
Pressing buttons ain't easy.
We've got our own APA. It's Femi and Karl. They're our new APA of ABW. Just decided. Yeah.
I bet Karl's no stranger to a cigar and a malt whiskey or something.
I don't doubt it for a second.
I mean, just look at him there. I'm surprised that he didn't have. Look at that. That's the stance of a man.
Yeah, but he's got respectable footwear on in that picture, not those freaking plastic things he's wearing. Crocs.
End the show. Put these people out of their bloody misery.
Yeah, we are. Right. Thank you to everyone who's popped up in the live chat. I know some of you have already checked out about 10 minutes ago, but thank you for coming in. We do appreciate and love you all, because without you, this would just be a couple of blokes talking shite, which it kind of is anyway. But we appreciate you being here because we know that you could be listening to literally anyone else. So thank you very much. We will be back throughout the season. This is our last podcast before the action gets underway. So don't forget, tune in. Ligue 1, Friday night, 8 o'clock now. 12:30, Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest on whatever the fuck BT's called this year, TNT Sports. enjoy it. And if you're going, obviously be safe, look after yourselves, and don't piss up the wall. Right, Danny, Fem, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you as always. As I say, keep your eyes on the feed. We will be back, and we'll probably do a live show, I would imagine, as well after the Forest game. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But until then, thank you for tuning in. We have been a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. I have been Kris, and that is it for tonight. Good night.
Out it goes to Lee Dixon. Long ball from Lee Dixon. Smith will hold it up, plays it square to Thomas, and Thomas goes inside Nickel, and Thomas is there, and Thomas has scored for Arsenal in injury time. Michael Thomas has scored for Arsenal. A ball played through the gap. Thomas was there. He held off 2 challenges, kept his head. By my watch, we are a minute and a half into injury.